You are now live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
Fantastic. Thank you, TCTV. Good evening. The time is now 6:30 p.m. I'm Chairman Mike Curry, and I'd like to call the Select Board business meeting to order on this 27th day of October. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag is to your left, my right. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to state for the record that not only are we being streamed live on TCTV, Cable Station 8, and our YouTube web platform, but this evening's recording will be available for later viewing on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe. This evening we have a quorum. We've got Jeff, good evening. Terry, Tim, good evening. As always, our agenda for this evening has been set no later than 48 hours out by law. And it is publicly available at the official source for town information, templetonma.gov. We also have a social media site on Facebook, official town Facebook site. Although I have the discretion as chairperson to add and remove from the agenda, it has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, and public awareness. I reserve the right to move agenda items around to best fit our business and guests. Thanks. Okay. Pretty good agenda this evening. We are going to start off with the approval of some prior meeting minutes. We have no executive session minutes. We just have our meeting minutes from 10/13. 13th of October, our inaugural minutes done by Justice Graves. Nice job, Justice. We're totally measuring them against Holland. We're not sure who we prefer yet.
I noticed
I
a
didn't
few.
have-
I noticed a few differences.
I didn't have any recommendations in it. Okay, I would entertain a motion to enter the meeting minutes of 10/13/21 to the record.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of 10/13/21 as presented.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Thank you, Terry. Any other discussion? Hearing none on adding 10/13 meeting minutes to the record. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. All right, 6:32. And now we are up to citizen input. Terry, you said you had some citizen input. Okay.
Sure. I wasn't sure when you were going to do this. So I just I have two things from Narragansett Historical Society. So the one I'm going to introduce in citizen input is right now until Tuesday. They're having a cordwood raffle. The drawing will be Tuesday. You can, it's over 3 cords of wood split in season. The tickets are $10 each or 3 for $25. You can get tickets at Tangway Jewelers or myself. They manage to. I went there last night for some other things, and I have a few tickets. So you could, or contact them on Facebook. They'll even deliver tickets. I don't know if that was a joke or not, but that was brought up that they would even deliver tickets. If anybody wants one or 3, I have some with me. So that would be while I'm doing that too, the seniors are having a donut and coffee raffle for their, is it homecoming was this past weekend, but they're having till November 4th a donut and coffee raffle. So Historical Society ends the 2nd, senior donut and coffee the 4th.
Great.
That's it for now.
Any other citizen input? Okay, hearing none. Before we begin new business, we did have 2 passings that we would like to mark. Our first, Terry just got a couple quick words and a request of the board, and then Tim also has one as well.
Yeah, I was saddened to hear on Jackie had sent me a text that Irene Young, who was a librarian, assistant librarian, and her good dear friend and a family friend and a community, a blessing to the community, passed away unexpectedly. She was stricken ill at home, taken to UMass on Monday morning, and she passed away. She also worked in the Gardner and the Templeton school districts before she was a librarian. Excuse me. So one thing for our family, why she meant so much and why Jackie reached out to our family, one of my children is a librarian because of her. And my kids, their opinion was she was a wonderful person, and because she always spoke to them with respect and helped with dignity. So I would just ask, and memorial contributions, there's not going to be the private services, and memorial contributions can be made to the library at 27 Boynton Road. So please just remember her and bow our heads for a citizen of our community. Irene.
Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it. Our condolences go out to Clem and his entire family.
Thank you.
That was our community and from the national front and our country. Last week, we all got the shocking news, the passing of General Colin Powell, United States Army, retired. Colin Powell had a little bit of a tie to the local area that a lot of people do not know about. He spent quite a deal of time over at Fort Devens as a young captain, was a company commander prior to deploying into Vietnam on the first of his many overseas assignments. I personally got to meet the man during the Desert Shield, Desert Storm operations when he was our deputy commander of the US-led coalition forces. Just a few quick accomplishments. He was the 12th chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, serving from 1989 to 1993. He was the 16th National Security Advisor to the United States of America, and he was our 65th Secretary of State. His leadership and his guidance and mentorship were missed by many, myself included. So it's fitting we take a moment to remember him. And the flags were at half staff for the better part of last week in memory of him. And I do apologize. There's another young man who was killed in action in 2019 over in Afghanistan. The flags were at half staff today, a gentleman out of the city of Lawrence, Massachusetts. And they were at half staff today due to his internment at Arlington National Cemetery. So if you please join me, just a moment of silence for the departed warriors. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. All right. Thank you for that. It's always important just to remember those who have passed on, especially if they've touched so many community members, whether it's national figures or people that have lived their entire lives here in this community, which Irene did. Okay, we're going to jump into new business. Adam, am I right in thinking there are no introductions of new employees right now?
You're correct.
Okay. We might have heard that there were some new part-time officers. If that's the case, I know that it's been past practice that, if there are new employees in town, we would love to be able to say, welcome to service in our community or otherwise. So if there were any that might have gotten overlooked, just check that out.
I'll check that out and follow up with the police chief.
Sure.
And try to
Yep.
arrange time. Thank you.
All right. And for appointments this evening, we've got, let's see, Council on Aging, Joanne Waugh. Oh, she was over here and I looked up over here. Jackie's not here. Steve, I know Steve was covering or anything, but does this round out the Council on Aging?
Right now,
Or
Holly,
are
we
there any
have still,
other open seats?
we still have what, 2 openings on that council on aging?
I don't think so. I think maybe there are 2 more spots.
Okay. All right, so we're not full up yet. Okay. Well, Joanne, thank you for joining us this evening. Do you want to address the board or your viewing audience? Your admirers.
Cameras. No, I'm very excited to be able to work with the senior, Council on Aging.
I'm new to the community,
Mhm.
just a little over a year. And retired school teacher,
Oh, fantastic.
and at one point was employed by the DOD. And I also knew Mr. Powell. I'm excited. Templeton is a wonderful town. When my daughter-in-law suggested building a house here and moving out here, I was a little hesitant because they chained me to the wall in the basement. And I love it. I love it. And I love the idea of being involved in the community.
Great. Where are you coming from, Joanne?
We moved here from Lowell.
Okay,
I'm originally from Framingham,
all right.
but, and a lot of overseas in different countries.
Fantastic. My mom's a retired school teacher.
I
Thanks for,
miss it. But I don't miss the behavior that's in the schools today.
how long over 30 years?
No, I had to retire.
Oh, DOD and then, okay.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I had to retire early because I'm half bionic in my back with cement too, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Templeton. We're very glad to have you with your unique skill set and your desire to want to be a part of the community. I agree with you. I'm originally South Shore, and I did the same thing here. I didn't build a house, but lived in the central part of the state for quite a while. And other than there's far less people, it is a really good place to come
And the food is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
The farms and
Yep.
the farmers markets and,
we do it right out this way.
oh,
Yep.
yes, absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
Thank you for volunteering. We very much appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's nice that she got recommended by Janice LaFave.
Hmm.
Good person.
Okay, I would accept a motion to recommend Joanne Waugh.
So moved.
Second.
All right, and that would be for a term to expire on 6/30/2024. You don't mind me amending your motion?
No.
Good, okay.
No problem amending the second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second on the motion to appoint Joanne Waugh to the Town's Council on Aging for a term to expire on 6/30/2024. How would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Unanimous. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Joanne. All right, exciting. We're moving into our next piece of business, which is a public hearing for our tax classification. So I would like to make a motion to open the public hearing with action related to the tax classification. That's a motion.
Second.
And I have a second. Fantastic. Any questions? It's not it's a hearing, it's not a joint, right? Okay, all right, so we're good. If there are no further questions on the motion to open the public hearing on the tax classification, how do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So this hearing is officially open at 6:43 PM. All right, yeah,
Vice Chairman of the Board. is
absolutely.
John
Great to see you.
Holtzberg.
Great to see you, sir.
He let me do the talking. Because I do it
I
all so
think I heard
well.
him say that's why you get paid the big bucks. Yeah.
So I did send the paperwork out to you for our classification hearing. So what we're doing is just coming to you, giving you a heads up that we are working on the tax rate recap sheet. And right now, we're in the process of having either setting a single tax rate for the town or a split tax rate for the town. This year, total values assessed property in the town went up to $836 million. And of that, 91.46% of that is residential land and residential properties. 9.2% is commercial, industrial, and personal property. So unfortunately, over the past several years, commercial property is not moving in town. It's, we're not having the sales, so it's been pretty stagnant. And our residential properties continue to climb the sales on them. So like I said, most of the residential properties, 91%, carry the tax burden. And because we don't have a higher commercial base, the Board of Assessors voted yesterday to keep a single tax rate in town instead of doing a split tax rate. Department of Revenue does have a nice thing on their tax recap sheet that now you can go in and plug in your figures, and based on my values that just got approved for the town, you, it shows you if you shift the tax rate. And when we plugged in the figures, when you got to line 3, it tells you to stop, because if we were to agree to shift the tax rate this year, our residential people would be actually paying more of a tax burden than the commercial. So after the board looked at that and we talked about it, they decided that they would like to ask you to go with a single tax rate again this year. The other stuff, I buried you with paperwork. I gave you the LA4 from this year and last year that just shows how much our values went up. This year alone, we went up over $89 million in assessed real estate and personal property in the town. As far as what a dollar raises, we went up to $835,000. A dollar will raise, which is up almost $73,000 more per dollar in the town from last year. Single family homes went up. My single family homes this year went up to the average being $265,808. Last year, they were at $243,000. So they're up at least $23,000 plus for single family homes. Doing my sales ratios this year, I used sales from 2020. I always have to use the prior year back. So every year I'm a year, not a year behind, but I'm a year back to calculating. Sales in town, honestly, this year went up anywhere between 20 and 30% of their assessed values. And that is pretty much across the board. That's your ranches, colonials, everybody, as you all see it, and I'm sure all the people in town are gonna see it. People are just paying way more for their houses than what I have them assessed for. Some houses are selling from $80,000 to $100,000 more than what we've got them valued in town. So fortunately, usually when values go up, we're banking on maybe our tax rate will go down. I know there's not much debt going on the tax roll again this year too, so we're hoping that'll kind of balance out the tax bills when they do go out. Other than that, if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any idea when we'll hit billionaire status?
Yeah, close.
Where
A
you
couple
going
more years
next
like
year, I was
this
just
and
gonna
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, please.
One thing that I would like to add to this picture is that I would hope that the Board of Selectmen and anybody else that has any control in this town would try to get some industry into this village. Otherwise, it is going to get so expensive that none of us are going to be able to live here. We've got to have some more industry. The residential people are just going to get priced right out of the picture.
Yeah, and I guess the two things that I have to say, I know that we had a stumble with the EDIC committee, the Economic Development Committee. We had a full, I think we had a full or close to full committee, and it was either COVID or there's some disagreements among the new members that we had assembled, but it didn't get off the ground the way that we were hoping it would. But there is drive for that, to make sure that we can have that discussion and say, what do we need to do? I know, Adam is new to the job and he's developing his skills and otherwise, but I know one that Carter would do as just a matter of how he did business. He'd get out there and start talking to businesses. I think that we need to do that. What do you need? It's because businesses talk to businesses. If we wind up having a dialogue to say, what can we help you with? What are your concerns? What are you hearing, around town? Why aren't businesses choosing to put roots in here? Actually, I got three things. So that we have the cannabis effort as well. That is moving in the right direction. And that does come with a little bonus attached to it because of the laws that they've put in place for the cannabis industry. So we're hopeful of that. The hard part with that one is that everybody's trying to get that revenue stream. Everyone's taking a look at it. We're out here, Joanne, there's plenty of places you can grow things and empty storefronts that people are trying to take advantage of. We know all too well. I mean, we've got a new storefront coming right over here to the our corner, our new Rotary area in time over years. The other thing is we need to assess the businesses that we have in town. If their licenses have expired and they're still doing business, we need to really make sure that we're keeping an eye on the ones that we have in town that have been here for a long time. Maybe they elapsed for a while, but certainly a trend that I've seen is that there are some garages or there's some businesses out there that might still be active. We just have to re-engage with them. That makes sense, Lori? Yeah,
In the Gardner Chamber of Commerce.
Absolutely.
meeting,
There's
They
four
said,
things.
remember to ask, what's your capacity? What do you need to, what would you need to move to Templeton? What would your business need? How much acreage? How much
Mhm.
storefront?
Go for a land walk, entertain those discussions. I agree. So wholeheartedly, we agree with you. I mean, 91 and 9 is no place to be.
And even like he says, and 7 out of our 10 top taxpayers are already commercial businesses in town. That's not the apartment houses or anything. That's actually businesses. So they're still carrying a big burden of it. In the
And they have
town.
to see that, again, if they're relying on a bridge, we have to make sure that we're moving in the right direction to repair our infrastructure so that they're not looking elsewhere to say, this community's taking care of their infrastructure. These are all things that we're trying to juggle. But again, if we can keep these on our dance card, I think that we're going to be in the right direction.
And one of the things attending that meeting that just came to my mind was, with the younger generation that are moving in, the things that they look for are different from what we may have. For instance, co-op stores.
We've got a Starbucks going in down the street. Maybe we should add it here. Although that would have been a tough sell, but they like Starbucks.
They do, they actually do, like Starbucks. But no, I was thinking more of like, not Whole Foods per se, but stores
Co-op,
like that. They have one in Winchendon that's prized. Not just this, not just sugar,
It's not just produced.
not just produce, yeah. That's some stuff.
Mhm.
So Quality
Yeah.
stores that are environmentally sound, that small carbon footprint.
Agreed. Any other questions for Luann or Chair of the?
Good job, thanks. I had to look up on, I was looking up all the titles.
And it is a hearing,
Gave
so, typically during a hearing, you have the presentation, any questions or otherwise. Is there any public input for those that we have assembled? Any questions? As it is an open hearing. So based on your board's vote, your recommendation, I believe we already have,
Yes,
okay,
for a single tax.
for a
rate,
single
yes.
tax rate.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I would make a motion to close the class taxification.
Tax classification.
I added it.
Yeah.
Here's, I do want at least one a meeting now. Tax classification.
So moved.
Thank you. And I have the second. Any further comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, on the motion to close the public hearing for tax classification, how do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. This hearing is closed. And time now is 6:54.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move to approve a residential factor of 1 tax rate for residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property as recommended by the Deputy Assessor and the Board of Assessors.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to approve a single tax factor rate for residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property is recommended by the Deputy Assessor and Board of Assessors. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thanks for coming in tonight.
You're welcome.
Okay. Angie. Okay,
Mr. Chair, if the board wanted to go out of order to take that one. Or if you want to do the quarterly.
H. I think we just gonna take that one. And H and old business.
It's up to the board. You and the board.
We've got our finance team, but I'm looking at item H and the old business we have on Zoom. Angie. Would anyone object to
Oh,
taking?
here.
Okay, okay, good. All right.
I don't want, the knowers are here, and they've got what they've come to do, so if that's the case, I don't see a long conversation about that. Anyone have any issues taking those out of order? We'll go H and then old business. Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Knower, if you want, do you want to, actually, our stuff works, so it can hear you. But all of the documentation has come to the board. The board has everything it needs in terms of research or otherwise. So I think really the issue is to approve the buyback, which you've come prepared this evening. Do you have, do you want to make any kind of presentation or words for the board?
No, just that paid full amount as requested by the town and the lawyer. Buy back property so it can stay in the family.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Noel. Just as a situation, it's just tax arrears, municipal lien, and then tax taking has brought us to this situation. The knowers are in a position to pay back taxes and repossess the house at 104 Main Street that the town now owns by deed. So the issue coming before the board is whether or not to approve the buyback. As you've just heard, Mr. and Mrs. Knower have brought the instrument to make that happen with them this evening that would be delivered to Paul Young.
Well, it would actually go to
Actually, I'm sorry,
to
you're right.
Cheryl.
So Cheryl, the treasurer collector would take possession of it at that time based on how the board votes. So I would, for the board's assistance, I would move to approve the buyback of 104 Main Street, Templeton by the former owners Suzette M. Knower. Paying full payment is received this evening via bank check in the total amount of $38,077.49 for the tax title, taxes and fees, and for the treasurer collector to proceed with having all related documents processed for the sale and for the board to sign the deed once prepared by counsel. That's a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? We have the treasurer collector here, so if there are any questions for Cheryl. Okay, I have a motion for approving the buyback with a second. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none. On the motion to approve the buyback of 104 Main Street by the former owners, Knowers, paying full payment is received this evening via bank check in the total amount of $38,077.49 for the tax title, taxes and fees, and for the treasurer collector to proceed with having all related documents processed for the sale and for the board to sign the deed once prepared by counsel. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So you can settle up with the treasurer, and I'm glad that you're able to stay there. Just stay with us as residents, and we'll support you, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, Cheryl's right there. Cheryl, good?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, sound check, Angie,
Here.
you're here,
Present.
okay. I've taken the old business out of order, and this is action related to Crown Castle modification to cell tower equipment.
That's correct.
Want to open it, open that up for us? Or Adam or Angie?
Angie, I'm not sure.
Okay, so Crown Castle is proposing modifications on behalf of Verizon. Is pretty much, there's just, they're removing 3 antennas and installing 9 antennas. It's just a, ordinary modification. They're just upgrading the equipment. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They're just removing 3 antennas, installing 9.
That's to improve efficiency.
Correct. To improve the bandwidth and upgrade the equipment.
Okay. Property is owned by,
Crown Castle, we have the lease with,
okay,
for the
Yeah.
board. And Angie, thanks for coming, because we actually had this on the last agenda. We didn't have a representative coming to the meeting. And I know it says in here, if we didn't respond within 30 days, it shall be deemed approved. So,
Deemed approved, that's correct.
so we are happy that you did come and speak with the select board. And that way they were able to make a decision whether it's for or against this modification to such. With that, I'll leave it to the board if they have any questions of Angie pertaining to this modification.
questions?
So on site information, Angie, it says current zoning to be determined. I don't know if that's a town issue or a.
So yeah, we have somebody who's already working on obtaining all the zoning and permitting, but per the lease, we need to obtain consent.
And then electrical provider to be determined.
Electrical,
Electrical company,
Well, it's an existing site, correct?
yes.
but it says
I
to
don't,
be-
there should be existing electrical already. I don't know why it says that. It's probably,
I think it's a template and they just didn't fill that in.
yeah.
even the telco, but what's telco? Telephone company provided? And then it says project manager to be determined and construction manager to.
I believe I sent the final drawings. Are these the final? I sent the final drawings to Holly.
Is they in our packet on? Is that what's it? And who oversees all the requirements of the site activity?
We do. Crown Castle manages the poll.
And so, okay, and who does the final approval? I
So
forget.
we're gonna get zoning and permitting approval per the jurisdiction. And per the
Final
lease, we need consent from the landlord, and I believe the land is owned by the town of Templeton, which is why we sent the consent to the town of Templeton.
The way I phrased it in my notes were, who does final inspection for compliance?
Well, the jurisdiction, they do a final inspection once everything's installed.
The permit would come through the building department. Zoning shouldn't change because there's already a tower there. And final inspection would be up to the commissioner.
Okay, do we get a final
I haven't
report?
seen anything come through the office yet.
No, do we? Because I don't think it's, we have to approve it first, right?
So because we are the landowner, we would have to approve this for them to move forward with all the next steps that Lori just mentioned.
Yeah, compliance, I have no issue with that at all. I mean, I guess, I think it's a great project because like Angie my opening question, what are we improving here? They're upgrading equipment, they're modernizing equipment.
You'll have better cell service.
It's a refresh, so I'm all for it. Kelly, you have a question?
I'm just curious if that's gonna update our lease agreement with them on the rental of that property. If that's. gonna
It
be-
does not, no. We do not need, we're not expanding the lease area. We're just adding modifications. We're we're changing the equipment on the tower, and per the lease states that we need consent from the landowner. But yeah, we're not expanding our lease area.
Putting in an ice bridge. I thought that was an interesting point. That's for safety, I'm assuming, an ice bridge, so that we can walk around town. So it looks like it's neat.
Got our cell service.
Yep.
Anyone have any additional questions for Angie? I know there's a lot of documents there, very technical, but good,
I use
good
my
questions. I think there are a lot of template things in there.
Yep.
Pre-existing stuff.
It's been up there on Latitude for.
Yep.
It's been. For a couple times to redo.
Yeah.
Standard.
Yeah, I'm all for a tech refresh. Tim, any other questions? Good. I would move to approve the request of Crown Castle, the request of Crown Castle received on October 1st, 2021 for modification to the cell tower equipment as presented and for the chair to sign.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions for anyone here or Angie?
Well, I do have another project coming up, but I guess I have to wait until the next meeting, correct?
Yeah, because we don't have any, we
Yeah.
don't have.
Okay, so
Adam and Holly,
do you meet monthly?
we meet bi-monthly.
Bi-monthly. Oh, wow. Okay.
November.
Bi-weekly.
Sorry, bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly. Okay, that sounds better. All right. All right, so I'll be in touch with Holly.
Next.
So Holly will send me the signed consent.
Yes.
If
Okay.
we pass it.
Oh, I thought you guys, okay, so I guess,
No, you asked a question during the deliberation, so that's fine.
okay. So, no other questions?
That's my line.
Okay, sorry.
Tim,
I
what's
got,
my
I got
line?
former town administrator.
Just go
call me
off the rails.
sweetie. On the motion to approve the request for Crown Castle received October 1st and for modification of cell tower equipment as presented and for the chair to sign, how do you vote? Jeff,
Yes.
Terry,
Shrubbery, I mean, yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Angie, it's good to go.
Great, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Hi.
Are your meetings as exciting as ours?
Yes. I'm just wondering how this went off the rails in 38 minutes. Usually takes mine at least an hour.
We'll be getting some emails about that tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. If you didn't think that was fun enough, here comes our presentations for first quarter FY22.
Wow.
What I'm saying is these are much more.
Speaking of off the rails.
Development services, you are up first.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Oh, man.
Any questions?
Can't get away.
Hi.
Yeah, I tried.
I
So,
feel like curling.
oh, thanks. So first quarter, very, very busy. You know, sometimes you hope for it to slow down a little bit, but
I couldn't believe it.
we're off and going. Yeah.
Activities, and I was tired.
So in the first quarter, we did work on employee reviews and meetings with the TA, and we accomplished that. And MS4, we had preparation for the annual report to the state, which I felt went really well. Thank you to Boston O'Neill.
They've helped.
And I had the pleasure of participating in talking with the town at the senior center. Great questions, big variety of questions. We did try very hard to help the treasurer collector's office with back taxes by putting our foot down with permitting and our local contractors. So I feel like we did pretty good, and yay, we got the vehicle. Very excited about that. As far as COVID-19 goes, during the first quarter, we had an average of about 13 positive cases each week. We continue to file or provide a daily update for the fire and police department. And I also provide an update for the nurse director of Narragansett Regional School District.
The same person that it has been?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep, no changes there.
that's good.
In the first quarter, approximately 52% of the population was vaccinated, fully vaccinated. I will tell you that is mostly our senior population. That brought it up to that. During that time, the nursing home had one exposure, but there was no further transmission from that, and the person did not actually get ill. The Pfizer booster was approved also in the first quarter for people 18 to 64 who met the specified requirements. The building commissioner and administrative assistant were incredibly busy. Let's see. We had a cease and desist go out to Central Street for the operation of an unpermitted automotive business. That was later referred to town council to send a letter. And I went by there today and I didn't see any activity, but there's a lot of stuff still there. We did have a couple of disputes over property lines. They ended up being civil cases. There's not much we can do when the survey land shows they're within their rights. Building had 70 permits processed in the first quarter, including single-family dwellings, pools, decks, commercial storage units, roofing, the usual. For some reason, metal buildings were incredibly popular. We have a lot of metal buildings going up. We collected a total of $13,238 in fees, and that's on an estimated value of $2 million. 5 occupancy permits were issued, 34 certificates of completion, and that was pretty much for building. Wiring, 47 permits, totaling fees of $4,140. Plumbing had 17 permits. And gas had 19 permits for a total of $3,520 in collected fees.
Lori, a quick question.
Sure.
Fence viewing, were you tracking our last meeting about the discussion of fence viewing? Does that fall under your department?
I don't want it to.
Okay.
So fence viewing is a very specific thing. And yes, it probably will eventually fall under our department. But mostly fence viewing has to do with blocking of a public way, the sight line. On public property, it's going to get plowed over in the wintertime. It's not really disputes between neighbors.
Okay.
Those are civil, more civil directed
Right.
cases. We can't tell somebody they can't have the fence of their choosing on their property. So
Okay. We will
need-
probably engage with you more.
Yeah, we need
seek your-
to-
Your counsel, but you know, it's something that we had started
Mhm.
talking about. It had some favorable discussion, but yeah, we'll continue. But you mentioned property disputes, that's why I asked the question.
And it was fences.
Yeah,
So
well, I guess that was a good question then.
it was a good
Okay.
question. Ag Commission continues to help us cockle-doodle-doo
Right.
with roosters and chickens. There isn't an easy answer to that. And if we can't come to a resolution, we're going to look at a bylaw for roosters. I don't see where we'll have a choice, but both of these cases are still going on. We want to mediate between the complainant and the owner, and the owner has had 2 opportunities to come to Board of Health meetings and hasn't come to either one of them. So it's in the AG's hands right now. And I'll keep you guys updated
Okay.
on what happens. With the ZBA, it was pretty quiet in the first quarter. I did have some questions that were answered for residents, and we do have something coming up for 195 Brooks Road, but we still have to set a date, so that'll be in the next report. We had new member Bruce Marion come to the planning board. He's been great, very involved. There were A&Rs approved for 5 lots on Lord Road and 6 lots on Patriots Road. Those are all going to be for single-family houses. CO&S Garage came before the planning board to move their business from 160 Patriot, no, we're 160, down there
Yeah.
to up there to 364. They're moving to 364.
Okay.
So that did get approved, and they're actually all set now. Stevens Way, the gentleman who purchased that area came before with a preliminary plan to get some ideas for a 55 and older houses. And that's pretty much it for them. Conservation, we renewed our association with the Mass Association of Conservation, which I actually took advantage of. You'll find out later, but took some classes, so I have a clue.
Okay.
There were,
Do you mind if I?
yeah, go ahead.
Is it more a historical society? What's going around? What's the name of the house that we passed on first
It's
refusal?
Patton Gardner, right? It's more in Gardner than it is on us.
The house on Patriots Road, you're talking about on Eames property.
Historical
Ames, the-
home,
the
yeah,
Ames.
The goal is that's been parceled out through one of the A&Rs that they
Okay.
did. And the company plans on selling it to somebody who wants to restore it. And believe it or not, we've had a lot of inquiries about it.
Yeah.
So there's
I
a lot of
know-
interest.
I know Will on advisory had brought it to us, and we, wanted to push it out to make sure people were paying attention. I drove by it. I mean, I did a super double take, almost threw my neck out when I saw how much timber has already been felled. My gosh. So that's good to hear. I'm glad I asked the question.
The only thing they can't save is the carriage house. They can save the house, but they can't save the carriage house.
It didn't.
It's not salvageable.
Yeah.
So conservation, again, they have been extremely busy. And I have to give credit to our volunteer boards and committees because they have been working very hard because of the building boom.
Sidewalks and.
Sidewalks, yes, lots of conservation, notices of intent, requests for, sure, applicability,
Mhm.
determination of applicability. They also had to review, took a look at Radigan gravel pit when they were renewing. So they're involved with a lot of different things. They did approve the extension for the River's Edge notice of intent. And I got all the minutes updated to my town government.
Fantastic. There are those who care.
Well, it took
Yep.
some time.
Yep.
And Board of Health was pretty much the same. We're very busy because of new septic systems. People are selling houses left and right, so there's a lot of Title V review. We did inspections at Templeton Elementary and the middle school, Valley View Farm, Hen House, the farm at Baptist Common. So far, no violations noted in those inspections. We're doing a lot of community septic loan applications and processing, so a lot of money going out, which is good for repairs to failing systems. We are having our animal friends, the beavers, have been very, very active and very, very
Yeah, they've
destructive.
appeared in a lot of reports.
Yes. Planet Aid boxes are working out marvelous. They empty weekly. I'm waiting for our first report to see how many pounds.
Yeah,
Um,
no issues like just errant dumping.
No, the only thing,
I think that was our biggest concern was.
so far, nothing. One person left out, I think it's called a boppy, because it didn't fit. And by the time I got to it, it was saturated and I put it in our dumpster. So, but other than that, there's been no trash, nothing out there.
Great.
I did work on a abandoned property on 232 South Main Street, contacted Millbury Credit Union. They immediately took care of it.
Hmm.
They don't want to lose the property, so. And that's actually where we're at with most of the abandoned houses right now. They have pretty much cleaned them up, everything on the outside, still working on 29 Sawyer Street. And it sounds like the AG's office is going to push that,
Okay.
so. That's,
Any questions for Lori?
That house I reported to you on Patriots Road, someone was out there the next week. I'm like, yeah, she's fast.
we try, we don't always get that.
Yeah. Well, I noticed.
Lori, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Community services.
Thanks, Steve.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm sitting in for Jackie Prime, who couldn't be with us this evening. Shall I do this like a newscast? Community Services Report. The library had a
No, please
summer
don't read it.
reading program.
You don't have to read it. I got it in front of me.
I'm not gonna read the whole thing, just the highlights.
Okay,
The
thank you.
library had a summer reading bingo challenge with 3 dozen participants. The farmers market has grown. I know Caitlin and I went and interviewed several people, and we're still catching up on the videos on that. Jackie also did reports for the library board and community service job descriptions, and planned the scarecrows on the common event and the apple pie contest. And if you missed that Saturday, I think Adam can report that they were quite delicious, weren't they? They were.
My
Love that.
granddaughter got third place. It
All
was a
right.
rough day for
The
us.
Recreation Commission could not hold its swim program this year, unfortunately, but as you may know, they did pull off soccer season with over 100 participants, which I think is a huge accomplishment because, I saw when they were, I didn't think they could pull it off.
That quick.
Really,
Yeah,
yeah.
good.
So they did a great job. And as you know, the skating rink is being planned for Houghton Park. So
Did hear
dust
that.
off those skates and get them sharpened. And I think they have a very good commission right now. They have a lot of interested people and they're doing great. I've been here for most of the meetings and the progress they've made is incredible, I think. So Senior Services had a 3-day grand reopening celebration with over 100 visitors, which is very impressive. And the presentation of the Boston Post cane, you may have seen that on TCTV, shameless plug. And the center was used as a cooling center by CERT volunteers, which is nice. They started the talk with the town and have had Adam and Jackie and Lori and some other people come and answer questions. The Council on Aging Board drafted a code of conduct, and there are plans to replace the roof and complete the kitchen. Veteran Services, Sheila's been busy as usual, worked on moving Chapter 115 recipients to a new DVS validation system. I have no idea what that means, but I'm sure it's a lot of work, and Sheila will tell me all about it.
I'm glad they're getting a new system. The other one was outdated and it didn't have the connections that she was looking for, so I'm glad she did.
Sheila's revving back up the community outreach, hosting coffee socials and monthly luncheons, which would be lovely, and identified veterans grave sites in Greenwood Lawn Cemetery with high school students. She's reaching out to the American Legion and other veterans organizations to see how we can bring more veterans programs to this area. And she does a great job. Cultural Council, as you see, all the different events that they have helped sponsor, including a couple that TCTV has been able to record, like the Bad News Jazz and Motapalooza and Go Fly a Kite Festival. And if you go to some of these events, you may see the council members in their booths, and I know at the Kite Festival, they had things for the kids with crafts and coloring and drawing and things like that. And they do a really nice job. And they're seeking new members. So if you're interested in being on the Cultural Council, hit them up. TCTV, we've been very busy with staff training. We hired a new person, Dan Walker, and Dan's really helped us with the audio enhancements in this room. He's an audio pro and also good with lighting. So we hope to learn more from him, but we're really reminded of how involved it is to do the streaming like we do now. And Hannah remembers how many weeks it took us to get it down, and Dan's getting there. So our goal is with 4 people that we can all do each job, and that's been difficult, but I think the investment will pay off down the line. Program production that we've got back to, Hannah did a nice show on the Kite Festival. Caitlin has numerous shows on the Farmers Market. We'll have to pick out the best one. Hannah's been doing a video on the Appleseed Festival that was recent. The jazz concert is still in the works, Mr. Bennett. I apologize for the lateness of it, but Dan's making audio enhancements to that. And at the same time, I'm making him learn streaming and the TV server. He's also learning how to use the video editing tools. So he's got a mind full. And Modapalooza, I'm handling the Lucy Stone and women's suffrage event. Caitlin has it just about finished. We had to put that on hold. We're doing a Stay Fit with Liz exercise program that's being done at the senior center. And our seasonal person, Sarah DeJoy, was kind enough to go into our archives and pulled out the 250th anniversary parade, which we broadcast on TCTV, and also a temperance tea event that we had forgotten about. That was at the Historical Society. We have some sponsorships with Crows, with Cypress Physical Therapy. We're working on a partnership with Choose a Business Incubator. And we're running a spooky photo contest. So you have until Friday noon to get us your spooky photos. Go to the TCTV Facebook page or email us at the town government website. Montechusett TV website development is in the works. I haven't seen a final design yet, but I know the web designers are working on it, and Caitlin was very patient with me in doing a logo. We went through numerous logos and we finally got one that we liked. For that, I don't know if you have it in color
We
Mm-hmm.
do.
in your
Or at least I'm looking at
packets.
it.
So
It's in color in our packets.
yeah, she did a great job with it and wouldn't let me do some things, but that's her prerogative as a designer. So we worked well together.
Team player.
And education, the one thing about COVID that's been good is that a lot of virtual education has opened up, especially in our field. Maybe the silver lining, I would say, to that, especially in our field, because a lot of these trade organizations can't do conferences. So yes, there is something called Zoomtopia, and it is 2 days of Zoom meetings for people who need to know more about Zoom. So it's good to see what feature sets they're looking at. And since we work on this and it's a staple for us, we have to know if they're going to be changing it. So those are good. Audio, video over IP, that's, sending everything over the internet, hybrid meetings and workspace place trends. We have to be in on that because that's what we're running here. Digital marketing and social media. I'm trying to take a deep dive and seeing how we're going to deal with Facebook because they are not making it easy for us to actually be objective and impartial. Imagine that. So, and digital signage, there's a lot going on in there and that could be the future as well. We're a little bit down on YouTube and Facebook posts, but that may be since we pulled back a little bit on production to give everybody a break. So they wouldn't hurt me.
Steve, it says 25 subscribers. Is that
That was plus 25.
plus? Oh,
in the
added,
quarter,
okay.
Yes. And I really have to hit that harder so people can.
Yeah, I mean, I
subscribe.
mention it when we kick off our meetings for people that watch in case they don't notice. I mean,
And thank you for doing that. I
Yeah.
think that's awesome.
well, that way people get notified when the meeting's going on. I know, where I think it's the end of my week and I can stop paying attention to stuff. I get that notification on Thursday night. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's time to watch advisory.
Yeah.
So there's benefits for hitting that subscribe and the bell.
And I think as we ramp up the production again, we're sputtering right now because I said I had to kind of pull everybody back and prioritize.
Yep.
But that really generates a lot of views and hits as well. So hopefully we'll get
I don't
back to
wanna
that
Lose
in
anyone.
the swing of it and get Jeff his jazz program.
Any other questions for community services?
That's what it is, Wednesday, October 27th.
I know, I forgot something. Thank you, sir.
Do you know where you check?
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh.
All right.
Because that's 10 p.m.
10 p.m. And we've got our first quarter finance report. Finance team, how are you?
Just wonderful.
So I see on the memorandum, it's Kelly, Luann, and Cheryl. Is that the order we're going?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, it's good to see everyone.
Good to see you too.
The first quarter in my office is always extremely busy with getting the books closed out, getting the free cash filed with the DOR. Got it certified the July and August. We're on track. Cheryl and I are, reconciled, prepared for the auditor visit. They've been here this week. They said tonight that they're just about wrapped up. They've got a few more things and then we'll be good to go. And then I spent, again, a good amount of time on the CARES reconciliation. We're on the home stretch with that. But we've just, the FEMA portion of it just has not panned out the way it was anticipated. But fortunately for us, we kept it in the scope that we were able to use the CARES money to cover what our expenses were.
Kelly, I have a quick question. So
Yes.
when we during the audit, do they also look at like contingency operations like CARES money? Do they
They-
exclude that? or-
No,
Okay,
they look at that. And then, so for this next year, okay, well, this year, we had the CDBG grant
mhm,
that we got for
Yes.
Orchard.
yes,
So that triggers a single audit because it's over the 750,000.
recall, yeah.
So next year, depending on if we, or in this fiscal year, because we received the money, the rest, pretty much the rest of our money for CARES.
Uh-huh.
If we do anything with CDBG, then we will more than likely have to have another single audit next year, especially with the ARPA money, depending on, the 750,000 is the benchmark. Once you hit that, you have to have a single audit.
It was roughly that first disbursement, I think,
Yeah, so,
that was going,
Yeah.
it went by like a community
right,
prescription. I mean, I know they both did, but one was like
Right.
2.5 million in two parts. But the earlier one that we got
right.
was like between 6 or 7, but it was right around there.
Right,
Okay.
right. So, and then it depends on the expenses we have in a year and, the different factors with that. So
Okay,
it
thank
just
you.
depends. For
Okay, thanks.
continue training with Lisa. She's only been here 3 months. She's doing very good. Still, there's so much to learn. And I continue to work with her on processes that help the remote work to go smoothly. As far as now, we're doing very well. If she needs to talk to me, she brings me up on Teams and we talk about it and work through it, and seems to be going very well. On the expenditure trends, always the very first quarter is where we have to pay a lot of our big bills right up front. So like the advisory, they paid their dues to their organization. We have my travel expenses for the fall town meeting and the audit right now. The Vadar software support, that was a one-time cost. The assessor Luann was diligent and got her full year of postage before it went up so that we could save some money there. Cheryl, she had her school in August, so that takes a big punch of that. And also she did a big order of envelopes before the postage went up so that we could save some money there. The police is the clothing allowance and their software. The fire department has the big lease payment that we paid. You'll see emergency management. He has spent almost all of his money, but he did that before he leaves for Florida. So that's a big, he tries to get that out of the way. Senior services, again, the software, library software, recreation, that the recreation is split between the recreation and the cultural council. And the Cultural Council is going to they're going to try to be more diligent about using those funds this year. So they've spent their portion of their services. They gave that money to one of the people that's doing a presentation for them.
Quick question,
yes.
emergency management. This is the 27,000. I think that's for fall town meeting.
24.
24, yes.
24, okay. So Rich, this is an opportunity for
Right.
Rich, and I
Mhm.
think he would be able to start spending that.
It's the next
Spring?
day.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's remote right now, so
Right.
we'll just have to see what he's got for a spend plan.
Yeah.
And those are non-expiring funds as
Right,
well.
yeah.
As long as town meeting authorizes them. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
The Worcester Regional payment comes out of the other so that we save that, it's almost like $4,000 that we save by paying it in one payment.
Nice. Yep, I know that's a big one for you.
In the revenue, we're at 26%. So again, we're pretty much right on track. The only thing in revenue that just really stuck out to me that I wanted to definitely bring to your attention is that between the house sales and what Cheryl has been able to do, she's already got almost $46,000 in taxes and interest and tax title that she's brought in the 3 months, that's very good. So I have that, and then you'll also see at the back of your packet, the special articles report that I started to do. So it will give you all the special articles. It gives you the status, what's happening with them. One that I do want to bring to your attention though, is the one that we voted for the 25,000 for the shared vehicle here at Town Hall. Since we were able to receive that from the light department, as the article is voted as the full amount, not necessarily all the different projects. More than likely that money is going to need to be put with other projects because the cost increase that has happened with almost every project we have. When we did the town meeting, you're given the, what we have bids right then, but as you all have seen with everything, the costs have just skyrocketed. So just so that you're aware that that money will probably be reallocated to another project within that article.
Now you're
And
tracking.
I think that's it that I have.
Any questions for Kelly? That was the special article report? Okay,
Yeah.
just want to make sure I'm looking at the right one. You said it was 25. Is
Yeah,
that-
it's at the bottom of that 468. It's on the page 2.
Oh, okay. I was looking at the wrong one. I was looking at the police.
Yeah, it's the one for 468.5. It's the very last line item.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Any questions for Kelly? All right. Joanne.
Okay, preliminary bills went out on time, so our first and quarter tax bills, in fact, our second quarter tax bills are coming in, which is bringing in between the two over $6.2 million into the town. We did another motor vehicle abatement. I apportioned 3 new Title V loans. Lori had mentioned that new septic systems are coming in and stuff, so we've already put 3 new loans onto the tax roll, which they'll start being assessed for in January. I did have 2 property owners roll out of their chapter land, which isn't always cool because chapter land kind of saves the land in town and preserves it. So when you take it out, you pay rollback taxes. Those rollback taxes were paid. But we did, on the flip side, I had 5 new applications to go into chapter land.
That's good.
3 of which were forestry, and forestry bears a harsher penalty. They have to keep it in for 10 years. Whereas chapter 61A is agricultural and 61B recreation only has to stay in 5 years. So, I mean, that was kind of nice. We lost a couple. We did just approve another 5 chapter land. So that's good for the town.
Properties that it makes sense for those.
Yes, yeah, and
okay.
it's like, and it's gonna protect your land. I mean, they're not gonna be selling off, and so,
Right.
which is good in this, given the situation. Statutory exemptions are the exemptions that we give out to our veterans, our elderly, our widows, senior work off. Last year, we gave out over $93,000 worth of exemptions to those people, and of that, the state did just reimburse us over $45,000 for that. So we almost get back half of what we give out in abatements. Mainly, most of that money that we get reimbursed for is for our veterans. We have several that are on 100% disability that get tax breaks, and a bunch that are under 100%. So that was a good money coming back. And in fact, Cheryl said she just got some money. The state was a little backlogged in 21 because of COVID. So we just got revenue of what you say, 43,000?
Yeah.
43, yeah. So we got another 43,000 in income for reimbursement from 2021. So that was good too.
It'll be interesting to see what the 2020 census tells us for the veteran population. You know, for the longest time, John Kaplis was always, oh, we got 500. But then you would look at the census, and the census numbers were 800. It will be interesting to see what the trend is in the veteran community.
Yeah, and actually, I think this year alone, my board's approved, I think 8 or 10 new veterans coming into town, you know, above and beyond probably the 80 or 90 that we already have on the books. So I mean, yeah, we're still getting a lot of the veterans coming this area too. So that's always nice. The annual report was submitted and sent to the select board for last year. This time of year, in the first few months, I'm real busy working on the tax rate recap, getting my values set, making sure everything gets approved. My sales analysis was done and approved. Kelly and I worked on the community preservation, which will give us reimbursement money back to the town for community preservation.
2020 or 2021?
2021. 21.
Okay. It says
2020. 2020?
21.
21? Oop, typo.
Shows that I'm awake and I'm also thinking.
Well, look at you. Jesse.
There's a deadline. Collie, when's that deadline?
Yeah.
January 30.
Okay,
Look,
well,
you got
I
it
mean,
in.
I did type 21, I think, on mine. I'll check just to make sure. Also, new growth this year. I'm always very conservative on my new growth figures. I always do $65,000 to $70,000. I'll say I can try to get out there and get for the town. Adam always likes me to be a little higher, but I err on the conservative side.
Yep.
This year, when we did a budget, we did put in for 70,000, and we brought in over $251,000 in new growth this year for the town.
Yeah.
So that's over 181,000 that will be certified for free cash. So
Nice.
that's always nice. So I know he likes it for budgeting purposes, but the board that I work for likes to have it for the extras at the end of the year and having the extra money for the town. So that kind of good on both sides, but we'll stick with 70 again for next year. Other than that, town clerk, most of our stuff is being worked on for the tax rate recap. So Kelly's ground's running, especially being in town this week and next week. She'll be pushing in a lot of figures. Cheryl's been working with the debt going into recap. Carol's got things from the town clerk side. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll be ready to,
Is that where we come in?
that's where you come in and sign.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, hopefully we'll be working with the figures within the next week or two and being able to submit that and get a tax rate set. Like Lori stated, building permits are crazy in town. They did 70 this quarter, and over up until the first 3 quarters of this year, over 232 building permits were pulled. So her office busy makes our office busy. We had over 30 houses for new houses this year alone. So that's above and beyond everybody else's decks and garages and everything else. So it's been
Did
crazy
you have a
there.
question?
I actually did, and I'm gonna, this may be actually through Ms. Witta as opposed to Ms. Royer, but with the number of building permits that you've seen thus far this year, I know it's only a quarter, but are you concerned at all for the revolving funds for any of your for any of your people yet, or do you feel that the increase you made last year is going to be okay?
Yes.
Her fingers are crossed for anyone who's not seeing it.
I'm fairly comfortable in the fact
Okay.
that that increase should cover
Okay,
what's going on.
thank you.
Thanks. Good question.
And the only other thing right now, we're still doing cyclical visits. This year, we're working in the precinct of
I
East
see Sue
Templeton.
out there.
Sue loves doing it. I mean, it
Yep.
saves the town a tremendous amount of money. I took her out and trained her, and it's great for her. She
It
loves
is.
going in. She comes in and clocks in, and
If I knew where she was
Rounds
gonna
come
be,
in.
I'd be like, make sure I brought an extra coffee or something like that. 'Cause she's out there in the sticks.
yeah, she's actually just about done East Templeton. She's got main roads now, Patriots Road, Gardner Road. But she's done the whole precinct of East Templeton. So all we got left now for within a 4-year time frame, I have to just do Templeton Center. That's the last precinct we have to do. So she's been doing an incredible job. And like I said, she saves us big money and it's
She
been.
gets her
working really
steps in.
well. She does, she loves it, you know. Usually she'll tell you what the dog's name is and everything else about the property before she takes her pictures, but yeah, she's been doing great. So it's been really nice having her do that. Other than that, if you got any questions, I'd be happy to answer you or.
Looks like we're good. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi, Cheryl. How are you?
Hi, good, thanks. So it's been a typical quarter. We, property taxes, sewer bills, excise commitment, warrants and demands went out. I sent a letter of intent to residents that will get their property taxes advertised in the paper. I'm hoping to get that within the next week or so. The ad will go in. They've had their chance. We got to do it at some point, so I'm gonna move forward with that.
I saw Gardner's a couple weeks, maybe it was like a month
Yes,
ago. Yep.
it's just trying to get the tax stuff in has kind of pushed me back a little bit on that one. Plus, we have Danielle now. She started, so I've been training with her. So that's kind of just, you know, shifted gears a little bit with time wise with some of that stuff, but she's doing excellent. She's picking up quickly. She's good with the residents. She's doing a really good job. It's really great to have her in there. And good to have somebody full-time too. It's working out great. It's really working out
And
great.
actually, she's at home tonight watching us, so we said.
Hey,
we'd give her a shout
Danielle.
out. Good addition to the team, good addition.
She's gonna be giggling.
We'll let you do a song.
We did 174 lien certificates again with all the sales and everything else. Those are going out regularly. Like Laurie said as well. With her checking with the permits, that's getting a lot of this stuff is getting brought up and caught. It's getting a lot of the old stuff paid off. It's just working out great. She sends that to us every day, whatever they have. Danielle checks them, sends them back to them, and anybody that hasn't paid, they gotta come down to our office and pay out. So when these permits go out, but it's been working well. I've been watching the Zoom meetings weekly, keeping up on that stuff. I did go to school in August. It was canceled last year, so I was a year behind, but we did get in there this year, which was good. Collections for the quarter, we had real estate at
Quiet down front.
3,150. CPA taxes with a 55, personal property 62,000, excise 96,000, tax title 45, like Kelly said. We're picking away at that, and I think I got a couple more in the works that we're gonna be able to get rid of, which will be good. And meals tax 18,095, that was up from the last quarter, so people are getting out there and
People are hungry.
they, you know, they're getting out.
Yeah.
So it's working good.
When did the hen house move in? That was
July.
July.
So that was,
Okay.
yeah, so we won't see that till the next quarter. That would be good though.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting, my daughter waits tables at Blue Moon, and she says when they're closed, it all comes down here.
Okay.
And when they're closed, it all goes
It's up there.
down there. So it's, people want their breakfast.
Don't mess with breakfast.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I'm working on, right now I'm getting a letter ready for the attorney to send quite a few of our properties that are in tax title and send notices to these people. We're gonna start working on these things. You know, I got the funds are getting approved, so I'm gonna start moving on this stuff and
Okay.
we gotta move forward with it. We gotta get them off the list. So people will be getting letters soon from the attorneys and we're gonna start moving on it.
And part of, and public notice is a big part of that, right? In the paper, like,
Once they're in tax title, it only gets advertised once.
okay,
And then if you're delinquent the following year, it just rolls into your tax title.
understood.
So some of these that have been in there for a few years have just been lingering and, you know, I've been sending notices and notices and at this point, we gotta move. You know,
Okay.
I'm finally getting funds. I'm finally having the time. Now with Danielle, I'm finally getting to get into some of this stuff. And I'm gonna send, the
Yeah,
attorney's
just
gonna
watch
send.
that budget guidance,
he's got a
it's
good-
gonna be coming out, we're talking about it tonight. You
Yeah.
just gotta with all that tumultuousness, just gotta watch the budget guidance and how that might impact. That'll be definitely something that both this board and the advisory try and help if there are any friction points with that.
Yeah.
I hear you though.
Yeah, going forward, I think we're gonna, this is gonna, the housing stuff's gonna crash soon. These people are gonna be hurting that have been overpaying for their houses, and it's only gonna get worse. So we gotta try to clean up what we have while we can and hope for the best.
Okay. She's crossing her fingers already over there.
I know.
Any questions for Cheryl?
Other than just a comment on the importance of next Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it is the special town meeting where there's money for tax title, because that is money that would be well spent in the investment as far as the return to the town.
Right.
Especially like you just said, I hope it's not a repeat of 08, but when you're spending more than you're assessed for, the other side of that is can't be that big of a difference as far as the actual value when they get appraisal. Down the road when it kind of calms down a little bit, or shifts.
People are gonna be upside down.
So that the importance of that 17.5 plus the 17.5 that's already on the books. Without that funding, you didn't be doing that.
Exactly.
If you don't invest in the town, so it's compared to the return, it's short money. It
Right.
really is.
Yeah,
But it's
exactly.
important short money.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. I mean, we've already, we got almost 50,000 this quarter, so, it's a letter here and there sent out, makes a big difference, and we'll get to work on it.
And if, when you have the money sitting on the books that are old, if you don't have the means, dollars to go to get your return, it just sits there and you'll lose it.
Right, yeah,
So
exactly.
it's an important item on the special town meeting coming up. So.
All set? All set?
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies.
Ladies and gentlemen, your finance team.
Danielle. Cozy in your pajamas.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
All right, folks, we are moving on into action related to the donation of retired American flags. That is item G in the agenda. So Sheila is not here, but she has been communicating with me, possibly other members of the board, just kind of giving some updates. If you look out in the hallway, there's a beautiful box for the retirement of American flags. And it was an Eagle Scout project.
It was.
And donated to the town. And if you look in your packet, we have a thank you memorandum or thank you letter addressed to Mr. Choquette, who was who made this whole thing possible for us. So on behalf of the town and veteran services and anybody who has an American flag that they're not sure what to do, they're looking up their flagpole or otherwise, and it's rough. It needs to get retired so you can buy a new one. Show pride for your country out there. This box is designed to make sure that citizens have a place where they can come in. They get put into the box, and then we have other volunteers afterwards do the retirement. And I think the American Legion assists with that effort as well. They do that on a yearly basis to make sure that we're properly retiring the American flags. So from the board, we would just like to offer a motion and thanks, and then a memorandum that would get signed by all of us in recognition of this donation. So.
And a second, and I would also just comment, if I may.
Sure.
That
aesthetically, it's a great improvement. It's painted the colors of our country's flag, red, white, and blue. Previous before that, and maybe it's a big deal, maybe it's not. I think it is. The disposal container to properly get rid of American flags was pretty much a plastic wastebasket with a little card on it. And like I said, it's aesthetically and it looks better and it's a little more respectful to the disposal of our flags, which I believe some people may not realize. There's actually laws on what you're supposed to dispose of the flags in the correct way. And this is it's a nice step and a good gesture, and it's a project for that achievement of his.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Can TCT, I'd love to know if TCTV had like a remote camera that could go out in the hallway. Say, here it is. No, I wouldn't put you on the spot like that. Come on down to town hall if you have a flag that needs to get retired, and you'll see what Jeff is talking about. Okay, we have a motion in a second. Any further on the thanks that we have and
That was a pleasant surprise.
Just a comment from Mr. Choquette and a longtime scouter myself. The significance of an Eagle Scouts project. It's a multifaceted approach. It needs to be something meaningful to the individual. And now with the Girls and the Boy Scouts of America movement, actually Scouts BSA movement, the female members of the scouting can also earn their Eagle. And this is the first year we're seeing that come to fruition as well. One of the requirements is it has to be of benefit to the community as well. And this is by no means a insignificant thing. It is a huge benefit to our community. And it shows the dedication, the thought process, the execution, and getting it into place. So my hat's off to Mr. Choquette.
And there are a lot of flags in this town. You drive around, there are so many flag poles, and hopefully the word gets out. I don't know if it's definitely worth a Facebook post or two just to make sure that the community knows that we have that form. Like Lori was talking about, these clothing bins have worked out really well. It's the same thing, getting the word out. If you've got a flag that needs to get retired, it's ripped up, they can come down here and do it right.
Is it on our town webpage?
It could be. Yeah. Facebook post to just make sure that we on the veteran
Justice,
on,
justice.
well, on the veteran services page, absolutely, because I know that we've got that. And we do have a veteran services as well that Sheila has. So she may have already taken care of that if anyone else has seen that. But good point.
It's one thing to do a project, it's another to do it in perpetuity. So it continues on after you're grown and you're out here.
Anything else? Okay, on the motion to accept the donation of the retired American flags for veteran services and to approve for the board to sign a letter to Mr. Choquette thanking him for his work on this project. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you, Mr. Choquette. All right. We have passed over item H. We've already taken care of it. All right, we are up to item I as in India, action related to letters of support for a streaming bill. I think Steve Counsel has got that presentation for us. And we are looking at the letter.
Evening again. Good busy evening. So we're asking the board to support these letters to chairmen in committees in the state Senate and state House of Representatives in support of what is commonly known as the streaming bill. And the purpose of this bill is to assess a surcharge to streaming entertainment services to help fund municipal TV stations like TCTV and community media stations, because we're losing revenues that we normally gain from cable TV because they're losing subscribers. So the idea is to replace that and be equitable, because we can take 5% of the cable company's TV revenues in Templeton, and yet the streaming services don't have to pay anything. So yet. So this would help replace those lost funds. The letters request some action on identical bills in the state Senate and the State House. It has strong bipartisan support. And I know last year I saw that State Senators Goby and State Representative Whips had signed on in support of it. So details on the bill is that the state would assess a 5% surcharge on the streaming entertainment company's gross streaming entertainment revenues in Massachusetts. This is not a tax on the movie that you buy from Netflix. This is up to the company to pay that. And 40% of that would go to access TV stations like TCTV. 40% will go to municipalities and 20% to the state. And I don't know about the municipalities, but I know we get the money based on population. So we get what, like 1/10 of 1% in the state, but you know, it's something. And numerous states are doing similar things. Some states, I think Florida, you know, a state that doesn't have an income tax is taxing both the movie you get from Netflix and the service. Chicago has a 9% amusement tax. So, and they're susceptible to that. So this is, I don't like to use the term because it reminds people of boring philosophers, but this is an existential crisis for community TV because we could be out of business if the cable revenues decline sharply, and they're expected to erode over time. I want to make it clear that I have no intention of cutting services or staff. We need to grow in order to survive here. So the monies that we have, to me, are seed money for an investment in doing that. And that's why my mandate from a previous board is to find a way to make TCTV self-sustainable. I don't want to rely on subsidies, whether they're from cable or from streaming services. This would certainly help us and take some of the pressure off. But we're going to continue to sell sponsorships and video production services and generate revenue whatever way we can so we can be self-sustainable. I hope that.
I love it. I love the idea. The only thing I would add to the letter is, since you have it going to a rep and senator, I would just add in Representative Whips.
Yeah.
At this point, it would be all very.
But they changed our district.
Yes, it would be representatives.
I think we have a CC going.
Oh, sorry.
It's on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That changed.
I just wanted to have it reflect our congressional delegation.
Yeah,
We have a CC to Representative Whips and Representative Slotnick.
but who was the first one you said, Tim?
I believe it's Oliveri. There were two
I read that, yeah.
as they redistributed, and that did take effect at the end of last week.
Yeah.
That's official and a done deal.
Just point of information, we ended up with Representative Slotnick. I believe Representative Whips put it out like that because her district got split between the two.
Yep.
And we ended up receiving a new Representative Slotnick.
Yeah.
But the way the Representative Whips put it, it would lead one to believe that which rep did we end up getting, but I had a conversation with Senator Goby's aide, and I was informed that it would be Representative Slotnick.
Okay. Road trip.
Very good.
Going in and say hello. Come on, you'd love that. Lunch in the city, you can do it.
We have Steve.
Drop off Steve's letter.
Steve's got to go with me though.
All right.
I'll
Yeah.
drive.
Steve, I think it's great. I think it's a great idea. I don't think it's an existential crisis. I think it's something that's coming. I think it's a reality of the way that we consume information and entertainment. So thanks for getting ahead of this and doing the research. I'm sure some others, appreciate that you had some examples of what others are doing.
Well, Mass Access is really, they're sort of like the trade organization for all of our TV stations, and they've really been spearheading it. And, I haven't done anything on it yet, but with this, I think they tried to get it out of committee last year and they only got 10 letters. So I said, well, we'll hop on board and see what we can do. So we just ask your support of that. And as far as the monies go, I don't know, I've done some rough calculations. No one will tell me what, the streaming entertainment revenues are in Massachusetts. I know they can be as high, they've talked about like 28 0.5 billion in the United States.
It's gotta be high.
In annually, and another 2 million for music. So, but you don't know what that is involved, and rough calculations when you end up with 5% and 40% and 1/10 of 1%, we might get $11,000 out of it.
And it doesn't mean, to someone watching right now who's got like a Netflix subscription, it doesn't mean anything to that person. This is between the streaming company.
Mhm. And the 11,000, actually, I was a little disappointed in that, but I thought, well, that's about how much we've lost in the past 3 or 4 years to streaming services. So it makes sense.
Let's give them the motion. Item I.
I move to send letters of support for the streaming bill as amended. Did we do any amending as presented, or did?
I would just add the correct congressional delegation. So yeah, as amended.
As amended,
And for the chair to sign.
and for the chair to sign.
Second.
All right. We've got a motion in a second. Any further discussion or questions for Steve?
No, I believe that second was a tie, though. Should we make them go once, twice, three?
We only just make this
Video replay.
Hearing nothing else on the motion to send the letters of support for the streaming bill as amended and for the chair to sign, how do you vote? Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. I'll go over there.
Thank you for your time, Steve. Great job.
Yeah, behind that. All right, next item J is in Juliet, action related to police local 155 AFL-CIO Massachusetts Coalition. Mr. Lamont.
This one is the police union reached out to me and on dates available. So this would just, the board would designate me to authorize me to negotiate with the police union. Remember, we have we have 3 collective bargaining agreements that are coming up that for expiration. So I anticipate receiving 2 more of these to come in front of the board by our dispatchers and highway and sewer folks unions. So this is the first of the 3.
So this is this will be our going in position.
Authorizing me to
Yep.
sit down with them and
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Adam? Timeline or anything like that?
My son just got me a book how to win every argument by an FBI hostage negotiator.
There you go.
Sure.
Let's have lunch, talk about it.
have lunch.
I move to authorize the town administrator to begin contract negotiations with the union police local 155 AFL-CIO Massachusetts Coalition.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion or questions for Adam? Hearing none on the motion to authorize town administrator to begin contract negotiations with the police union local 155 AFL-CIO Massachusetts Coalition. How you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Okay. Next item, action related to Medex retiree health benefits for FY22. Again, Mr. Lamontagne.
So on this one, there are no substantial plan changes for Medex. Our Maya representative sent us the materials. The accountant and I had an opportunity to review it. We will have to prepare a memo to be sent to the retirees, informing them of the new rates and that there will be no plan changes. So with this, it was reviewed by NFP, our consultant that we work with on our health insurance, and they encouraged us to approve this as presented. We're looking at received a 1.31% increase on our Medex 2 retiree rates.
I saw Kelly was on the distribution as well.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, even though our office, Kelly handles all the administrative components for the health, for the insurance.
Okay, so we're basically that what we've got up on the screen is what we're agreeing to. Any questions for Adam or Kelly? No big news. It's modest.
Very modest. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the current rates for the Medex retiree health benefits for fiscal year 2022 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
And I have a second.
Mr. Chair, if we could amend to, I apologize, to authorize, the board authorized me to sign as well. That should have been in the draft, but.
So amended.
So amended.
Thank you.
Second.
And yep, and a second. I see Holly writing, so we've got that covered. Any further questions? Okay, hearing none on the motion to accept the current rates for the Medex retiree health benefits for fiscal year 22 as presented, and for the town administrator to sign. How do you vote? Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. All right. Okay, item L is in Lima, discussion related to town council's opinion having to do with the salaries of the light and water commissioners as they appear on town warrants, town meeting warrants. So we had discussion last meeting. Adam, as asked, went out to town council, and in your packet, you've got the legal determination. It is asked whether the light and water commissioners should be fixed annually at town meeting in accordance with Mass General Law 41-108. Section 108, the legal opinion was that Section 108 states that the salary, quote, the salary and compensation of all elected officers of a town shall be fixed annually by vote of the town at an annual town meeting, end quote. The town's light and water commissioners are elected pursuant to the requirements of Mass General Law 164-55, light, and Mass General Law 41-69 alpha, water. The town merged the light and water departments by special act, Chapter 93 of the Acts of 2000, but the special act did not change the status of the commissioners as elected officers. Therefore, Section 108 requires that their salary and compensation be fixed at annual town meeting. Any further questions? Mr. Driscoll, the Light and Water Commissioner, did send an email saying, you know, he regretted that that we're, you know, paying for legal determinations when they've been done before. I don't think we've ever had a satisfactory coming, you know, melding of the minds on these legal determinations. But now that they have one and we have one, I see no reason to go forward. This is, I think we made this point in our last meeting. This is not a contentious issue. It is merely following state law for elected officials. I don't think that it is worth anything from the light and water side to be able to say this you know, this is not good for us or otherwise. They're elected officials. This merely complies with law. And in actuality, I look at it as we're doing it, you know, as long as they give us the figures, we're doing them a favor by complying with law. I think it makes sense to do it, and it should appear that way. I would leave it up, you know, in the preparation of the warrant, how it would be arranged. I'd leave that up to the town administrator and his team to be able to make sure that it appears appropriately. The most contentious part is normally ours, the select board stipend. So if it, you know, if it's separate from that, you know,
Just
funding
as a-
or otherwise.
As a thought on that, an observation that looking at towns, they have separated salaries of different officials out, and I've noticed like the light department, it's by itself, and it's noted, and it's done, it had been done this way in Templeton previous, paid for by light department. As noted, same as like enterprise funds, that's paid by the rate payers.
Yeah.
Whoever has, water or sewer, or whatever one you're talking about.
This issue is too easy. It's law for elected officials. I'd say it again, it's not contentious. People don't get upset about the sewer, light, or water. They understand that it's part of the rate payers or otherwise, but they are elected officials. It's nothing to get, people are not going to be upset about that. So I think that's the way we should proceed.
It's the right thing to do.
I agree. So this is just a discussion. I think consensus definitely from Jeff. Terry just said right thing to do. Tim, you feel the same way?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, we're just in preparation of warrant, elected officials, big net. Who are they? What's the data that goes into them? As long as we get the good data, it's not contentious. We're the ones that people like to look at to earn our $500. Okay, so we are moving on. Even more fun is the document packet that Adam and his team has prepared for the department heads to chew on. Adam, if you want to walk us through these documents, I can throw any of the ones that you would like to see up on the screen. I can do that.
I'll start
The
with
term I think I was looking for earlier, as we go through these, we don't have to review to the last letter and, cross T and dotted I, but by exception, if anyone on the board has anything they can ask or bring your attention to.
Thank you. So you'll see these in front of you this evening. That's why it's under discussion, because I intend to bring these forward at your November 10th meeting for authorization to proceed and approval. The first document you see in front of you is the general budget guidance. It's pretty much the standard language we use. You'll see some adjustments here. This one's different because we will be proceeding forward with a level funded budget. If you go to page 2, you can see our original appropriation last fiscal year, or this current fiscal year we're in now, for our targets for fiscal year 23. The number I'm going to proceed to move forward with, and what I have to do is go in with the 9,903,495 for the bottom line number. I will request all departments to get to as close, if not, and if lower, if they can. But if they can't, they can't, and we will have that discussion, but those will be the targets of each department. And it's my job to figure out how we get to the 9,903,495 for the fiscal year 23 budget. That's a note there. We could proceed to page 3. There's going to be some things that will be ongoing. We just dealt with it this past fiscal year. We saw in our building and grounds departments, when we went out to bid for the heating cost, how those escalated because of the market volatility. I did put in my guidance. It's difficult to estimate increases in heating, diesel, and gasoline unit prices at this time due to volatility in the market. So I'll sit down with my DPW director, building grounds director, and we'll have a conversation on what we believe it could be moving forward. That's something I want to kind of sit back and wait before I release the budget. So I'll have that continuing conversation with Bob. Postage rates, we're expecting an increase in both in July of 22 and January of 23. We still don't have what they're going to go up by. So that's another thing that there's still some questionable things that we're not questionable, but we don't have the answer yet. So in my guidance, I can't give them a final number to put in. So that's going to be something that I'll work with department heads on up to the final days where the budget's released. Also to note, towards the end of page 3, you remember we were trying to build up to a 53-week payroll. This year, I decided it'd be best for us to simply do 52 weeks to prepare for level funding. On my budget guidance, and proceed in that direction. Last time we had 52.8 weeks, and this time we'll go to 52.
Because we have extra days to pay people, so are we just not gonna pay them for those extra days?
Well, I'll figure that out. But in this guidance though, I'm gonna do 52 weeks. And then when we get the release closer to the budget, I'll determine how we're gonna do that. But for the department heads, I'm gonna have them put it in like that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that shakes out. Well, this is just his guidance, you know,
Yeah.
they'll work through it to see what how the numbers wind up shaking out, because he's got to collect a lot. This is his guidance, so he can collect information.
Yeah.
If this is his going in position, then how is he, you know, how is that going to work? Like Kelly said,
My question would be, is there a reasoning behind it?
yeah, he's trying to make money back. We're on a level funded.
Well, remember, I got the lump sum allowed or disallowed
Yep.
too, so I'm not too, I'll figure that out.
Okay.
And Kelly and I will be in touch. Budget season, we spend a lot of time going back and forth, so. Then the timeline pretty much is here. This year, we're gonna have the Office of Development Services submitting a full review of their fee schedule, because every year we look at a different department and review their fee schedule. So this year, Lori will be doing that. I already had that conversation with her as well.
Okay.
So if there's no other questions on the general budget guidance, that's what I am plan on approaching it.
Any questions for Adam or memo portion of it? Okay.
Okay. Now, if we can move to the countdown to the annual town meeting, which is, you could find on page 5 of it. This is what we're planning and meaning the dates going forward for the 2022 annual town meeting. If there's any dates that stood out to you, let me know. If you notice something after the fact, feel free to just send me an email.
Saturday, March 19th. That is
Snow date.
Oh, that's the snow date. Oops.
It's Saturday, March 12th.
March 12th. Okay.
And that's in accordance with the calendar we've already approved, Holly, right?
It's select board budget workshop, Saturday, March 12th. I see you have a snow date for answers to questions.
That's the weekday workshop. Usually we follow up on that one with the answer to questions that we have on that preceding that Saturday.
Where is that though?
So
I see Saturday, March 12th.
The one, it would be Wednesday, March 16th, but if it's a snow date, let's say we get. that
Okay,
gets
same
canceled.
same day as the school budgets.
Correct.
Okay. It'll just be an agenda item in that. And that'll be a joint meeting.
Yes, those both will be joint.
Okay.
Yep. I know this is not approved, but now assuming this document is going to hold, then I can go forward with advisory and I can book those dates for you folks for the joint review of the budget. And I can also, based on this, I can plan a pre-town meeting and review of a recommendation document as well.
Yes.
And we hope you stay.
Excuse me?
We hope you stay.
Yes.
Well, let's not bring that up.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay. Any other?
It's a compliment to his leadership ability.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I have a couple of, just a couple things I'd like to toss out here.
Okay.
the bylaw on the capital improvement plan states that it's supposed to be submitted by January 1, but it's penciled in here or written in here, December 22nd. Now, the bylaw states that the capital improvement committee should submit that report, and a copy of that report shall also be filed with the town clerk and the advisory committee. I would like to try to have the Board of Selectmen and the advisory committee both have members on the CIP, but if they could come here and formally, present the report to the board and have advisory committee here at the same time. So we would all get the report, and it's, instead of just, getting it handed, you could get it presented, and if there's any questions or anything, it kind of cuts down on the having additional meeting and the back and forth question to send. It could possibly be done at one meeting, expediting and being a little more efficient in our governance. Just a thought. I think that
Pulling up our
if we,
calendar right now.
get together on these things and perhaps cut down on the number of meetings that volunteers have to go through and the way the information gets thrown out. And also on the budget initial presentation of the budget and the warrant. Generally in the past, the town administrator has presented them, and you get your books, and then advisory is notified of that. It'd be the same deal. I would suggest that we test the initial budget presentation.
Oh, yes.
Of the warrant and the budget by the town administrator. That I'd always like to give it to the board, and then it gets transmitted out. Again, to be a little expedient and efficient for advisory to come to the board at that meeting, hear what
Two
we hear,
invitations.
and then they can also pass out the advisory budget books if, they're cool with that.
Go ahead.
Matthew Rivard, 270 Gray Road Advisory Committee Chairman. I'd like to thank Mr. Bennett for his comments, and if the chair of the select board deems it appropriate, I would suggest that we go ahead and schedule those joint meetings. I think that'd be beneficial for both the select board and for the advisory committee to get all the information out at once and be able to ask questions all at the same time. I think you're absolutely right. It's a great, it's a good efficiency that we should that we could take and use as a coalition of people to work together.
Because and we're not the only town that does this, but in this town, there's a thing with getting people to volunteer and to give up probably their most important resource, and that's their time. And to have, we want to hang on to this one way rather than maybe evolve and change for efficiency, if nothing else. So people can, their time can come to one meeting, and you maybe eliminate a few meetings, and maybe other people would be more inclined to volunteer to serve. Because it's you volunteer for something, and then it's like, all of a sudden down the road, it's like, man, I got this meeting I gotta go to, man, I gotta go there.
And
So
I'm all about-
if we could cut down or cut back on, maybe we'll get more efficient.
Yep.
I just think.
And I'm all about
it would be
efficiency.
the work.
I'm all about efficiency and hearing the word once, because this way there's no lost in translation,
All right, so we would be talking about Wednesday, December 22nd. That's the last,
That would be our last meeting.
the last meeting of the year. That would be an invitation to the advisory committee, and then, where is it? February 23rd. That would be a invitation for, so my concern, not concerned like, maybe we shouldn't, I think we should. How, and I'm really kind of looking to this end of the table, how, because we have regular business and we have some long meetings, how would we make that more efficient? If there were 10 other things on there and this is the big rock, how would it, I think it should be the joint, but how would that Do you need another meeting? Is it gonna be too much?
Start earlier? 5:30?
I think if you were to put it as the first item on the agenda and they list as the first item at the joint meeting, then we adjourn. Or excuse me, they adjourn and then we can proceed with our regular order.
Say that again?
We both have that as the first thing on our agendas, whether they have a one item agenda, then.
Well, it's our meeting, it's our business meeting, so
Yeah,
I
but they have
might
to-
have 15 things. We
Well-
might have 15 things that we're dealing. Go ahead.
And I think what Mr. Lamontagne is saying is that obviously the select board would have to open their meeting and I would have to open an
Yeah,
advisory
I get all
committee.
that.
But both things, if it's a one item agenda for me and it's the first item on the agenda for you, we just do that first. Then once that item is done, advisory would adjourn and you would continue with your regular business meeting moving forward.
I think you're missing my point is what if that goes for an hour,
Oh,
which it likely would.
Well, my suggestion was start at 5:30.
And I
But still,
And
I
close
see.
for an hour.
start an hour early. This way, your
So our
normal
regular
business meeting
we
can
would
continue
probably
at
go into
6:30.
that. So we would
Yeah.
have, all right.
And I would not have a problem personally with that. I would have to obviously take it to advisory. I don't think there'd be a gigantic problem with advisory doing that as well, as long as we had enough advance notice, obviously, to make plans.
Yeah.
But I think that
We've
would be
done this
okay.
Before at town meetings, if we had any business, then we would, meet a half hour prior. So we're not affecting the regular business. That's my only concern is to make sure that we've got, that we're still able to do the things that we know we're gonna need to do. And I wouldn't want to spend an hour and then have, Laurel Hill or,
Right,
things,
right.
people waiting here.
The only other suggestion that I could make to the select board was instead of having it as the opening item on a select board meeting, let's go to the Thursday and let's do it on the advisory day and we'll have it as the opening item on an advisory committee meeting. This way you guys can have your normal, can have your normal
Keep it the same time.
agenda and I can, because in the case of my committee, I think it's easier for me to be able to add a meeting if I have to in order to be able to do regular business items because my agendas are generally shorter. Not all the time, but most of the time. So that would be the other suggestion I would make is instead of doing it on a select board meeting night on a Wednesday, do it on an advisory night.
There is another alternative which may work better. There was a thing in our selectmen's policy for a special meeting that we could post to do nothing but and this is
That's what we
October,
would
this
be
is
doing
our,
if we did 5:30.
this is October and but I mean to
Another day.
to
another time.
work it, if it comes down, like this is October and this is in February. When we get closer, like in January, we might have a better idea of how much is on what or other. But we could have it, just a meeting where we're not under, because if you started at 5:30, you're kind of under the time crunch because you gotta start your meeting, a regular meeting at 6:30.
Capital One, you might be able to do that. So. if we-
Capital One might be able to get away with, right? The main budget.
Either do it on a Thursday or have a special meeting where that's all we're gonna do. For the budget, present the budget and the warrant. And I know that would deviate from your countdown, but
It's pretty much all we do anyway.
again, we
Yeah.
have time. It's not like it's like next week. You get an idea of what's gonna be what and just plan accordingly. I mean, if we want to do it, we can do it, just in and out.
And honestly, Jeff, again, looking at the process without talking the joint meetings, because
Yeah.
I think we're all agreeing that that's a good idea. So town administrator presents budget and warrant package Wednesday, February 23rd. What is he doing? He's presenting the budget books and otherwise, right?
Yeah, it hasn't generally turned into
It's him talking to us. There's not a lot of
and set a
immediate coming
parameter.
back. What are you doing?
Right.
This is great. This is out of control. This is more, which again feeds into what your idea is. But I guess maybe I'm getting wrapped up in, it's going to take a lot of time. Maybe not.
Might not.
It's
Yeah,
really
usually I just-
how
The
efficient.
The questions would
this
probably,
time is.
the questions would be more on March 12th and on March 16th, when we
Absolutely.
actually dig into the book, you
Yeah,
know?
and then there's the question and answer period afterwards, so. Yeah, maybe you don't have to do another day, maybe you can do.
Parameters is, it's the presentation, the initial rollout, this is the administrator's plan for the budget. This is the warrant, the selectmen approve it. Here are your books. You've heard this, firsthand at that initial rollout. I mean,
All right,
it's.
well, maybe what Matt is saying
shouldn't be,
about doing it at their meeting at least would take the pressure off our Wednesday meeting.
Or more than.
Do you want to
and-
chew on that? Or we got, like Jeff said, we've got time.
We're more than welcome.
And you can talk about it at your
Yeah,
meeting.
I'll bring it up in my comments tomorrow evening. And I mean, we're more than welcome to invite you to join us and even start a half an hour earlier if that's agreeable to you to do that. No, I'm talking about when we get to this, we get to the budget books, in order, just for time purposes. I mean, bottom line is, we'd like to do this as a unified front and as efficiently as possible. So, yep, I 100% agree. So, willing and ready to work with you guys on this at all fronts.
What else you got, Jeff?
That was.
Okay.
Okay.
That was.
Outstanding. I'm glad we got there. Notes, page 5 is any other questions about the countdown?
And I think that the way that I'm doing them, the way that I'm looking at the dates, it actually would line up that the select board meetings on Wednesday, the 22nd and of December and Wednesday, the 23rd of February, there actually is an advisory the following day based on the calendar. So we fall on the same week in those particular months in that case. So I think it actually works out.
You have an advisory committee meeting on.
December 23rd, probably, yes.
Yeah.
That would be the
eve of Christmas.
I know. That's call up the chair. If it comes down to in all honesty, Ms. Griffiths, if it's a matter of this particular item, that it would be the capital improvements committee submits their proposed CIP, that would probably be the only item on the agenda. We'd open the meeting to accept that, and then we'd close. I wouldn't have anything else on the agenda.
We'll be meeting on the left one day.
Might do that too. Yeah, we could, exactly. We could also do that. We could also do that. We could bump our meeting to like 6 o'clock on the day on the Wednesday, do it with you guys then, and then we can adjourn and you guys can open your normal business meeting. We could do that as well. Both acceptable.
We can have a meeting on the Christmas Eve before Christmas Eve and not invite.
What is happening right now?
Were you saying about it going off the rails?
Okay, timeline.
What's Terry putting in the eggnog again?
Adam, you got all the notes?
I do.
Okay.
I didn't have any, I don't think I have any question. Anyone have any question on his notes?
May I? One thing on here, Adam. Advisory committee, public hearing on the budget. I assume that you're on TBD advisory committee. You're referring to the pre-town meeting for the annual for the ATM, correct?
Which one is that?
When you move, it's more towards, it's about a third of the way down, it's about a quarter way down the page. Advisory committee, public hearing on budget, TBD advisory committee. You're referring to our pre-town meeting there, I expect?
Oh, that's correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure of, yeah. Just as a real brief projection, if the select board deadline to transmit the final warrant and budget recommendation as the advisory committee is Wednesday, April 6th. I've already written down here that I would move to hold a pre-town on Thursday, April 14, and approve the recommendations from that pre-town on Thursday, April 21 for transmission to the town administrator. Again, these would have to be approved by my board, but these are what I would project, and I'm actually going to take those dates to my board for the November 4 meeting. I know it's ahead of your approval on the 10th, but it doesn't sound like there would be any changes at that point. So just as a projection for the select board on the advisories end of it. Okay.
We're all set with this one.
Yeah, any questions on his notes? the 10 notes that he has.
Good.
All right.
Thank you, Adam.
And revenue projection.
Okay, this is first go around with this. Kelly prepared them and on her recommendation, and then I had my approved recommendation for our revenues. So we followed the same rules we've always have for Kelly's recommendation. Take the 5, drop the high, drop the low, and the average of the 3. So that where her numbers fell. And then I went through and I determined which I felt was probably the most appropriate for fiscal year 23. Not sure if any members of the board have any questions. Kelly's here as well, so if there's any specific questions about any of the revenue titles or what miscellaneous may mean or any of the other accounts.
So you guys are about $200,000 off your estimates. Okay. I don't have any questions. Folks following at home, we're on page 61 of the packet that you downloaded from templetonma.gov.
And if anything really jumps out there, like on investment income, you see a spike in fiscal year 20, and that was the earnings on a bond proceeds for fiscal year 2020. So if nobody has any questions, I'll put these forward. I'm still working with the fire chief on giving the breakout for the ambulance receipts, which was a budget duo from the last fiscal year budget. So that's why you see TBD for the ambulance receipts.
Yeah, it's tough with so many TBDs and House 1 dates, but at least you've got your documentation ready. I appreciate both of you doing.
Oh, and another thing to note too, if somebody sees the transfer from the police station loan proceeds, that's a special article we'll have to work on. I'm not sure, Kelly, did you want to speak a little bit to that one?
That's the settle.
It's kind of like the 252 Baldwinville Road where we had that money that was left that had to be used, that bond premium left from the police station. I did talk with the auditors, and because it is such a small amount, he said he would accept it, that we could just use it for the project itself since it's not closed. Especially since we have the problems with the HVAC.
Right.
We might need to have a little more money. And he said for that amount of money, we wouldn't need to do that. He would just allow us to use it for that project. So we talked about that this week.
So that works out. Kelly just got that information, so I could update this one.
So for the public's knowledge, it's $5,414.44.
Yeah.
So I'll update that.
Okay. Go ahead, Matt.
And also, Matt Reeve, our advisory committee chairman, just looking at the numbers, you said that it's $200,000 off between yourself and the town accountant on these numbers. You're the low man on this one, correct, Mr. Lamontagne?
I am.
Okay, you are the low man, okay. Just wanted to
Yeah,
make sure.
mine's basically a formula.
Yep, I let you
So, yeah.
take the last 5, drop the high, drop the low, average of 3, and that's where you go. Yeah, okay, makes sense. Good. Thank you. This looks, this is a good starting point.
It's a horrible starting point.
Well.
Yeah, but this is what we committed to this year. Yeah.
This is where we are. We were committed to a level fund, so. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on the revenue estimates? I'll make some adjustments to those and get those back for your approval November 10th.
Document change, starting out. You're the keeper of the documents?
I'm the records access
Okay,
officer.
okay. But like changes and everything else, so,
Oh, I'm keeping notes
okay.
here. I'm sure
I know.
Holly probably is too, but I
Yeah.
am as well.
I know when we start messing with spreadsheets and otherwise and changes and everything, I just want to make sure that you're the change master. Okay. All right. Work plan.
Okay, this is the final we came up with based on the input we got from the board members on our select board work plan for 22 to 25. If there's any anything you want to add to it or change, please let me know.
Night, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah, just ARPA, any kind of, I know where we're at. So if any kind of innovation that we have, I know we've got it there as a select board role, use ARPA funds wisely. All right, let's see how that shakes out. Any opportunities that we may have. Public safety is going to be a tough one this budget go around. So that may be it may this year we're gonna feel that level funded. Remember last year we did well. We made decisions and otherwise, and we came out, everyone thought, all right, we weathered the storm, so to speak. We're now, our estimate was, we're a little bit worried how that storm may, that squeezed the balloon into this year. So that's not to say that we won't be in a bad spot for even 23. And I know that was like your doom and gloom story, a year ago to say, I'm really worried about 23. So as we look at the different revenue streams and things that we're pushing up and down and trying to fix, those are the things that I want to be able to say. He's gonna yell at me for saying one-time funding. So if we have ARPA funds that wind up putting Band-Aids on something until we wind up getting to 23, that's so moving forward with this packet. Definitely, Adam, I want you to have the discussions with the department heads to say, this is where the board has us going. It's up to you to try and manage to get through that budget, but look for those opportunities. Even if you wind up coming back to say, it could be an ARPA situation for public safety. In our last meeting, our chief of police looked at us all in the eye and said, we are way undermanned in this police reform and training is really going to hurt us. That with this budget year, I'm just really nervous how public safety is going to figure out how to do this. Put 5 pound, 10 pounds of stuff into a 5-pound bag. Stuff. But that's my comment. Go ahead, Matt.
Why? First of all, why would I yell at you?
Because you guys, one-time funds, it's always what we did.
Yeah,
and trying, it's a third rail of
your
town finance.
You're absolutely right, and I agree with you. My only comment would be that I get the use of one-time funds in certain situations. I would just ask that we be very careful with it.
Yeah,
and exactly, a very good example would be the public safety situation right now, especially with the police department, with all the reform that's going on right now, the training that's involved with it. If it's a situation where we can use them responsibly and it's not going to come back to hurt us in future years, then I think you will find support for the use. It's just a matter of making sure that we do so responsibly and we do so such that we're not going to be impacted in future years.
Send all the part-time police force to train. That's $1 million.
Yeah. If we can,
The chief just fell out of his chair. And so
Yeah.
did the part-timers.
No, if we can do it responsibly and we can do it such that we're not going to impact FY23, FY24 moving forward, I think you'll find support for it. It's just, that's going to be the key to it.
Yeah. Just have to remember that little thing called the financial management policy, so we don't go tossing it in the back drawer again.
Yep.
Because again, they see, they're not following it again, you know, just, I mean, all the little things do add up to, you know, and that's all the fault of TCTV, you know, if we didn't have these cameras out here.
Steve just perked up. Oh, man.
Just checking to see if you're still
He's awake.
Program, so.
He's awake. He's smiling, it's all right.
You understand what, like, absolutely, financial management plan is your jury, judge, executioner, but I'm telling you, we gotta try and squeeze blood from a stone for FY22 and do the best we can. And you know, it's always tough on the public safety team. I mean, other departments, they have nothing.
23.
So
22, we're gonna.
22,
How do we
correct.
find, how do we follow if anything is coming down the state or federal level to help fund police? You know, they're saying defund police and give some of the money to different organizations to help with the stress of, you know, like domestic violence and mental illness. Because things are changing now. The way we handle people in the 21st century is a lot different, you know, and as I'm gonna give my report in the
Yeah.
school, it's not zero tolerance.
I just want to give him all the police officers he says he needs.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have part-timers, then we are in
But
trouble.
is there grants, is there funding that make,
Except when crime goes the other way, all this tiptoeing through the tulips will go away.
Yeah.
And that'll come from the will of the people. They will speak when, you know, things get bad enough for them. They'll be grabbing their pitchforks and their barrels of tar and come call it. It would just be history repeating itself, you know. People are tired enough crime, that's why they got all these hard minimum sentences. My only thing about, and it has been done in the past, and you get there, oh, we got this grant, so we can have, you know, a couple extra police officers, just using them. It could be any department for 3 years, and then the grant disappears, and then you gotta say, been nice having you, Mr. So-and-so, but the grant is gone, so your position is gone.
Right.
And I know you can like work it out, you can kind of hope and plan and try to get the funding. So if the grant's gonna do 3 years or 5 years or 4 years or 2 years, yeah, that does buy you some time to fill the positions, and then you gotta start working on, because they'll go by quick. You gotta start working on how you're gonna pay for that long term. It's just, you know, you get your eyes on this big pile of money that's coming, and the feds give it, then the feds take it away. And you don't want to put, again, I just don't, because I've seen it
yeah,
before in this community and others, where you get positions funded by grants, the grant goes away, and then
I wasn't
boom, and you're back to-
necessarily
and you're
talking
back to
about,
square one.
I wasn't necessarily talking about positions, but bulletproof vests or
I think
And they're
he's
still
fine.
working
equipment,
on-
guns, bullets, anything. that-
One-time
They're
expense.
still working on
Yeah.
how much, and this people in the state house, they're trying to, it's all political, trying to stretch that out as far as they can to get close to election time. Let's just be honest about it. And there, you know, the governor wanted to do one thing, he put out a plan, and the state house now they're piecemealing for housing, for this, to this, to this, to this. By the time they get to that, who knows, you know, what our share will be, how much will be available for certain things.
When will there be?
It's, you know, Tim keeps track, you know, he watches a lot of that opera stuff, and what has he said many times? You know, the rules are changing, the books are getting bigger. You got to have your head on a swivel to keep up with, you can do it, then you can't do it. Oh, you can use this money for the school budget. Oh, now you can't, after you do it. So I just want us to be, you know, cognizant of that fact, to
Okay.
Then let's think
we'll
of
be there.
this.
We'll be a watchdog as much as we can.
Then
for
let's
it.
think of this. When is it acceptable to put a moratorium on building? Because as you heard Mr. Brooks say, we want to focus on businesses coming in. We don't have enough police for 8,000 people, and we're still allowing houses to be built. That means more people. That means per 1,000 or 2,000, another police officer. So when is it time to say, we need to put a moratorium on the amount of people coming in the houses until we catch up with ourselves? I mean, we just keep going forward
And
and.
schools.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because our school can't operate at a 90% capacity. It's in our master
They're
plan.
danger close to 30 in the classroom.
I have the numbers right in my report, how many.
We have, the town has addressed trying to limit housing by,
We've had
no,
moratorium.
by zoning, increasing house lot size in certain areas. Like some places, you follow the rule, and you can get a variance, but there's a 1 acre building lot, and then other sections of town, it's 2 acre building lot. So, and there's only so much buildable land in Templeton. I mean, it's a finite number. We're not there yet, but I mean, there's only a certain amount of finite.
So
land.
before I took Hunter Education, I bought a 4-bedroom ranch for 7 people. And it was not, now that I know, I wouldn't have done that, but, with circumstances being what they are, people are cramming their homes full.
But it does.
What I'm saying is population. Yes, we have a plan on where to build and what to build where, but what is the population coming in with that plan? That's my.
So if we can, anything else with the goals that the board
No.
wants to see
Lowest
changed?
comparison communities. It's
Oh.
not in our thing.
I think that's actually on us.
What
Oh,
comparison?
yeah,
communities?
yeah, it was on their meeting. They
Didn't
were
you-
talking about it.
That's what I
Yeah.
was just gonna say that I've
Because-
passed the.
November, it's on our November 4th
Didn't
meeting.
Mr. Springs say, apples to apples? We were kind of jumping around and we weren't really finding people in our own niche.
Yeah, and that's,
So what is,
Wanted
you
to
guys
put
gonna work
together
on
our
something that
niche.
you're gonna recommend back to us?
that's the idea, and it's coming up on November 4th.
Okay.
It's coming up on our meeting on
Next
November
week.
4th. Hopefully it'll,
November 10.
November 10, yeah, because the fourth.
No, his meetings.
no, our meeting's
I know.
4th.
But we'll have
Meeting
something
after
by
town
the
meeting
10th.
Right.
before town
Got it.
Yes, I do. Yeah, no, I didn't want to do it either, but
So they're gonna be working, the advisory committee is gonna be working on that. I know Mr. Spring has been looking. through all
Mr. Spring has been pulling towns and numbers together. Yes, I believe Mr. Kaplan has as well. But yeah, we're gonna be working on that for you. And you had given me a date. I don't remember it off the top of my head when you have to have it. I know it's not,
As long as I get it before we release the budget,
you'll have it well before that.
but I
Have
mean,
it
if
well
the bo-
before
unless
that.
the board wanted, I don't know if they want to
When-
approve it.
Yeah.
When does the
Okay.
board want
Approve it,
to?
so-
uh,
When,
Well, let me,
Sign that.
if I may ask the board, when would you like to have that approved? Because I can push the committee to have those
No
dates
later than the 22nd.
of November or
December.
of December. Okay, I think that's certainly doable. Okay, that's certainly doable. We're gonna have at least the primary discussion on it at our meeting on the 4th. If we're close, then I think we can probably get to a final.
If we're gonna do a joint meeting on the 22nd, on or about the 22nd, I think we said the 22nd.
Yeah, I think we did the 22nd, correct?
Will probably be more than happy to.
Present it by.
Yeah.
That's certainly something we could do, actually, if the committee, or if the board is agreeable to it, if we could have that prepared for the 22nd, at which point we could present it and you could. I would have it presented to you guys earlier than that, but we'd have it to you at least 2 weeks earlier than that. Yeah.
Well, just following the 48-hour rule for the packets that get sent out.
Oh, out of consideration for you, I'd have it at least to you 2 weeks
Okay,
earlier.
sure.
Yeah, I'd have it to you 2
I
weeks
don't
earlier.
think that's bad.
And I think that gives advisory a plenty of time to get what we need to do and get it done. Because like I said, we're gonna have a preliminary conversation on it on the 4th. And if that conversation goes well and we're down to 12 communities, we just got to weed a couple out, then we might be there on the 18th. Yeah.
Okay, so that's one
Or
of
the
the reasons
19th.
why I put that on the agenda, so. With that, since the board wants to approve it, you'll get the advisory committee to get it over to us
Yep.
so the board could approve it
Yep.
and sign it? Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Now that I
That's how
know
we'll
it.
proceed.
Yep, now that I have a better date from the board, absolutely. We'll make sure that it happens. Yep, with pleasure.
I believe that's all I have.
We have taken care of Crown Castle. Tim, you're meeting soon, so no rack update tonight.
No, they won't. I'll defer to 11:10. We meet on 11:08.
Okay, I would love to hear board member comments and reports. I know Terry's got some stuff.
I just have a couple of things.
Okay.
TCTV, it's when we talk about funding and approaches to that, that's a thing that, as it was brought up earlier, that, that I think it was by Steve, one of the good things, or one of the results of COVID and all the Zoom meetings and remote stuff, the residents, they like that. That's a system, a service that, they like, and we need to do what we need to do to keep it going. Because I'm telling you, I talk to people, and I like it, and residents like it. They can stay home, watch a meeting. They really like, commenting you, whether you get it, whether you answer their Facebook thing or not, they at least got satisfaction. I let the chair, at least the chair, know my feelings, this, that, or the other way. And they get to watch the meetings and they get to keep up, and it's a good thing. And it's one of those, it's here to stay, because if you cut that back or try to do away, we're gonna have the people here to let us know about it. And my other little thing is little Harley, he's Templeton tough, and the people that know about that will get a chuckle out of that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, so I'll try to be brief on, the best I could do for Monty Tech was they didn't have an agenda for their last week. They couldn't send me the minutes of their last meeting because it wasn't passed yet. So Julie Marinoff sent me the approved meetings from Wednesday, September 1st meeting. And I'll just be quick. Dr. Harity welcomed her new student representative, Olivia Cunningham. I've highlighted some things. She went over the COVID for Monty Tech and what that would entail for their students. They have 2 new rooftop units, graphic arts and engineering. 2 new rooftop units have been set in place and installed. These units will regulate temperatures, graphic arts, engineering, and electrical. They have a lot of updates in their cafeteria, in their kitchen. If you want me to read them, I will. The pad for the new school generator has been poured. They have an auto technology lab and tool crib is nearing completion. Their advanced manufacturing portable cart and all the desktops are in. State-of-the-art desktop units in information technology, student laptop carts and engineering and cabinet making with related software installed. They had a professional development day. Their athletic fall sports are underway. Their co-op, where their kids go out to train, 31 seniors are participating in their co-op program. They had a traditional back-to-school class assemblies and a good start to the year. That's all I have. Their district committee accepted the grant for the ESSER 2 elementary and secondary school emergency relief ESSER 2 fund in the amount of $661,823. And the district committee did not award a contract. They had an action information award bid for a new hydraulic shear, and they decided not to award the contract at that time. That's the minutes of the, most of the minutes of the meeting. Is that okay? Is that too much?
What's that?
Was that too much? Oh,
I was interested in the answer stuff.
oh yeah, 661,000. Now, our school, the They did get an application for a new committee member, Heather Nemzora, and she was voted in unanimously, and Mr. Is it Hanks? No. Who am I facing? Mason, Mr. Mason was applied for. They had one public input, and I thought it was interesting that Phillipston has a homeschool community group now of, I don't know if it was 40 families or 40 students, so their representative, Mr. Buzzell, who's a vet, came in and was advocating for their homeschool, and that is gonna have a bearing on a little bit more of the meeting down the line. As become, so NDEA, there was nothing. FY22 budget update, nothing new for FY23 yet. ESSER funds 2 update, nothing new to report. The business managers report. So this is where I found it interesting, and I hope you do too. So Phillipston closed, but they had a box top account. So they made a motion to close 315 PMS account and move to 304 TC donations, with the donations reverting back if Margaret was saying if PMS is ever opened again. But so the donation account 315 was voted that money stay there in their motion, stay with the Phillipston children. It was meant to support because it was there, they raised the funds. So that's what I thought was interesting, and so did Jim. He's advocating for it. They did vote some pay raises to bring some up to the substitutes. Regular subs were $14.50. If they don't have a degree, it's $16 an hour, and if they're a bachelor's, $17 an hour. You're gonna have to check the video because it was really fast and I didn't have the chance to go back and check the video, but janitors, minimum wage, nurses, I think it was $20 an hour. No, Paris, you'll have to check the video. I don't wanna just check the video. I'm sorry about that. I know it's a little sketchy on that one. So on the back, let's see, this is superintendent goal setting. He's using the feedback he got from the school committee to set his goals. And he did, you can watch the video. I won't say them all. Cultural awareness, multi-kid system. You can watch the video on that one. There's a lot more. So update on logo. They're working on a new design. Margaret's posted on their webpage the proposed legislation, which hasn't been voted on yet. This one I found was interesting. The MASC, Mass Association of School Committees. Margaret is our representative, so they have. They were talking amongst themselves. They have 9 resolutions this year for that committee to work out, and she was looking for feedback from her committee, but she didn't get any feedback. I have all the things that they're talking about. I can mention a few that stuck out to me, or I can just.
If they're pertinent for how
Funding for school.
purely school committee stuff.
Funding for school-based clinics and services, because we are going to have, as you'll see, another COVID clinic on the 18th. There was a lot. They want to be able to have the kids, there's a homework gap and Wi-Fi. They want them to have Wi-Fi at home if the family doesn't have Wi-Fi. I won't read them all then.
Unfunded mandate.
Yeah, I won't read them all. Electric school buses.
These resolutions, I'm sure, are great, but they're
Electric school
very,
buses.
I wish them well. I think it's great. I think maybe the congressional delegation get involved with them. But for some of the ones you just mentioned, they wind up becoming unfunded mandates.
Yeah, and they voted to approve.
If they were even approved.
Yeah, they voted to approve a field trip. They did get, and I didn't bring the picture, they did get a donation from Glenwood Kitchens. There was some bogus countertops, and they reached out, and Glenwood said, if you don't mind mismatched countertops, we'll give them to you for free. So they gave them to, they gave them to them for free. They installed them and gave them to them for free. So let's see. Again, so the total enrollment for the school is 1,411. There are 1,043 Templeton kids, 180 Phillipston kids, and 188 school choice. So that's the total. Superintendent Cassavant gave his report. And again, his son had COVID and it was a nightmare. The protocol is untenable. So our nurse, Mariah's with her, she was able, some schools have the National Guard, but she found the CIC that has come in and taken over the COVID part of school life now, so that the nurses can get back to doing the eye test, the scoliosis test, giving them medicine and, you know, following through with the kids, and that's free. So they're coming in to help for free for our school. And let's see, the MCAS reports were sent home.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we don't need to talk about here.
Okay. All right. Oh, lastly, they're reviewing 22 pages of policy. That's all I'll tell you. It's 22 pages of policy changes to upgrade to what we know today. One thing I did.
You had me at 3 cabinets though.
Yeah, right. No, I saw that. I think the one thing I found, they're going to review zero tolerance. This is on that Margaret's committee there. They're going to review zero tolerance policies because they want to change them to therapeutic approach. And there's the Senate, in the House Senate 344 over zero tolerance and House 644. I think those are the bills that are going to be playing with kids. And then lastly, if you don't mind, if I can find it, but I probably don't even need it. I was contacted by Brian Tangway, and apparently the select board used to handle the like Christmas tree lighting. And we had not just Templeton Center, but Scout Hall. So we would start at Templeton Center. And then we would for like a half an hour, and the band is available. We're gonna have it on December 5th, 4:30 is the tree lighting. The Narragansett Historical Society is gonna have their wreath sale, and they're gonna be open that night. So, but they're saying traditionally Alan Mayo, he handled the whole thing. And then we would come from, and I said, oh, we could use the new car, the new vehicle, and all the selectmen could ride. Santa Claus is going to be there. They would traditionally come.
We've done this.
Yeah, I haven't come here. From there to here, have you come from there to here?
No.
We've done this, but traditionally it's been, we go there, then we come here, and the scouts are involved. No, I'm assuming it's across the street at
They
Scout
used to
Hall.
do it, they used to do it 4 precincts. They would light
Yes.
the Christmas tree in Templeton
I'll find it.
Center.
Oh,
The selectmen
outside of
or
it.
the group would go to Baldwinville and they would turn those Christmas tree lights on there.
Yeah,
by
and
the Legion,
then
and then they would go
Otter
to Otter
River.
River, and then the little memorial down here, the tree that's there, they would come to East Templeton and.
Yeah.
And sometimes it would be different selectmen would go to each precinct, or a couple
How-
would volunteer, and they would, 6 o'clock, we're gonna be in Templeton Center. And then they light the trees and do the thing, and then you drive to Baldwinville at, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later. You turn on the Christmas tree lights there.
So
invite him to one of our meetings. If he's gonna-
no, I'm throwing it to you guys to see if it's something that you want me to pursue, because I will help, like I did with the Boston Post cane. I'll kind of work with this, because there's actually a big box, a big light switch thing that's missing. So we gotta find that.
That's not
I was
missing.
thinking, huh? Is it right
Right
there?
there.
That's it, I see it.
Oh, look at
So,
that. There it is.
if this is something that they would like to do, again, I would say, ask them to come here and.
No, they weren't. Oh, you guys are
Careful.
missing it. Did I just send
Something
it?
to really do on the
I
phone.
hope I didn't shut us off.
Well, that's-
You
no.
guys are missing the point. It was our job. It wasn't, Historical Society just took it over, like they took over the Boston Post cane, Brian Tangway, this is Steve. Anyway, this is what you're gonna be.
Yeah.
You want
Flipping.
to practice? So anyway, my point is, do you guys want to work with me?
We've never not done it. But if-
I'm
if-
talking with 4 precincts, and so what he was saying is, by the time they got to Baldwinville, it used to be like Stephanie Flynn's church memorial, she's over in Phillipston now, but they used to have like coffee and a little social after the tree lighting, the end of the line in Baldwinville. You know, kind of like the turkey trot, now the Legion took it over after that.
Go for it. We don't have to make the sausage right now to say how would it work or whatever. Absolutely. If you'd like to.
Are you
if
interested?
you-
I
if
need to
you
know
would
I
like to
can
do
count
that,
on you
of
guys.
course. I've been doing it from a single point of view, but if he wants to try and revive that, then,
He doesn't, he asked me.
oh, I'm not.
He just
gonna set
asked
up
me
trees.
because it's a
I
select
don't-
board thing,
I've
so.
Got time for this and I've got time for showing up and everything wise, but if you want to do that, I
Do
don't.
you
why
want to
would
do
we
it?
stop you? I've always shown up, but you're talking about a lot of planning and otherwise and.
Yeah.
No.
I don't mind working with
Sure.
Brian at all.
Yeah.
Well, actually working with maybe Bob or making sure the trees, I don't know.
Are you a member of the?
No, not at all. I'm a select board member, and this was a select board event. See what it says here? Donated to the town of Templeton in memory of Lalo Nieto. Now I'm gonna have to find that out. I'm curious. But this is what turns the trees on.
Mhm.
And Santa came, I mean, it was very sad. I don't know if it was COVID or not, but they did, nobody showed up one year. They lit the tree, then they came here, nobody showed up here. Nobody showed up in Otter River, and nobody showed up in Baldwinville. So, I mean, I would love to do it. It's just how to get people to show up, like the scarecrows on the common. I was late putting my scarecrow up because I stupidly put nylons inside of spandex, and you can't stick sticks in nylons. Because I'm telling you right now, it's like a bone stuck in your throat. I'm not kidding, it was very hard.
Yeah, you've got my support. Yes.
So, we're on board, guys. I mean, even if one of us and Julie, or we all went to different precinct, you know?
But it's gonna take planning and a plan, so you're doing that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know, like Boston Post came, if you were
Okay.
happy with that, then
Sure.
we'll see what transpires, and the Historical Society, I stopped by there last night, they were just open.
So are
They're
you?
very nice.
Are you a one-woman show? Or Brian gave it to you and just dropped it in your lap?
No, he just
Okay.
said, what do you think? And I love I don't know if we
Sure.
can get the Stilt family to come back, Jacob Stilt, and it was the Jack Frost parade. I don't know what's gonna happen, if it's gonna be the same as in the past, or, I mean, it's all new people and it's a new, I think it was, what did Alan Mayo when he did it? Was he-
I just wanna.
Whatever day
You
it's
got
on,
it.
I hope it's snowing. so-
December 5th.
It has. in the past.
Dogs are welcome in the parade,
Terry, go for it.
Thanks,
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Tim, what do you got?
Real quick, falling hand in hand with the ARPA discussions, and there was a little blurb, was up for a very short while, and it kind of went missing off one of the state websites. There are some additional fallout funds. We don't quite know where they're going, but one of the items talked about was HVAC systems in schools. I don't know if that's something NRSD is pursuing, but they may want to do their own research on this as well. I'll see what I can find, and if I can get it, I will forward it across to Dr. Cassavant and the school committee. And this is definitely hand in hand, and it plays right into the COVID discussions. I know right now we're kind of in that midpoint. We're not totally out of it. We've scaled back a lot of the restrictions. We've scaled back a lot of the number of people in rooms, et cetera. The masks are being pushed hard, fast and furious in the schools. We've scaled back here. But as we saw at our last meeting, when the room filled up, out of respect for everybody, most of us masked up again anyway. It's the right thing to do. Just do the right thing for yourself, for your neighbor, and let's all do our part to help mitigate the spread. We know there's something out there, and it's here. It's not going away.
Right.
And that's all I got.
Thank you, Tim.
I'm all set.
All set. All you good?
Or do you have
Go for it.
Chair, I
Do you
make-
say that?
I did. I make a motion to
No.
adjourn. Is it
No, you say
before-
Night.
That was our Mel Brooks for this evening.
Oh, boy.
Make a motion to adjourn. I've got a second. All in favor of adjourn? Oh, what's our next meeting? November 10th?
November 10th.
Okay,
Fall town meeting is next Wednesday.
And fall town.
I might not be here.
fall, fall town
It's my
meeting.
cool birthday.
Oh.
I might not be able to stand up to get here. I'll do that after the meeting.
Fair enough.
We'll see everybody at special town meeting on November 3rd, 6 o'clock, Narragansett Middle School. So we had a motion and a second for our motion to adjourn. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
All right.
Any opposed?